Hello and welcome everyone to Grid Vision. Definitely excited to be here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway here with the Global Racing Truck Series. Definitely going to be a long race here today, as I do believe we have 200 laps scheduled for this Magic Mile racetrack. And of course, my name is Brian Britt. I do believe, Austin Edstrom in the booth here with me today. So definitely glad to have some help here calling this Global Racing League Truck Series race. Of course, Austin Derbyshire down behind the cameras. As I mentioned, this is a mile track and one of the hardest tracks as well, I'd say, on the NASCAR schedule. Very tricky, long sweeping corners, high speeds on the straightaways, but definitely can't wait to see what these guys do in tackling it. I mean, of course, it could end up seeing some guys have some issues. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, the track temp is quite high right now, 110 degrees, so pretty hot in New Hampshire right now, Austin.
Oh yeah, no kidding. And we're gonna see a hot, slick race here today. On the restarts, especially into turn one, it's gonna be pretty interesting just to kind of see how they get sorted out going into turn one. But Brian, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, let's take a quick gander at the points coming into tonight's race, or today's race at New Hampshire. Of course, Dale Brooks at the top of the board. Of course, he's got quite a bit of a gap right now, almost 100 points on Chad McGinley, who sits in second place. Stephen Hayes in third. Ricky Hudgens is in fourth. Michael Hayes is in fifth. Mark Royce sixth. Steve Gerber in seventh. Jeff Weimer eighth. Bobby Mantle in ninth. 10th, David Holsey. EJ Luna in 11th, of course, and rounding out the top 12 in points is Justin LeBlanc. And it looks like we have just a little under a minute left in qualifying. We'll take a look at the schedule, what you can expect to see this coming week, or this week, I should say, because technically I always never do this. Sunday actually is the start of the week. But we do have, of course, some openings. Monday is a good day. If anybody has any leagues they'd like to cover, we definitely would love to see you. Of course, Tuesday, we're going to be at Eldora in the Champion Power Equipment Truck Series at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday, I should say, Thunderclap iRacing Series will be in action, I do believe, at the Indianapolis Oval in the Xfinity at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, on Friday, we're going to continue with our coverage of, I do believe, the NIS at Pocono. And I'll tell you what, we had a really great race on the last Friday, and can't wait to see what they do in that series. All the great competition, and glad we're able to cover that. Of course, on Sunday, we're going to be at Pocono as well for the Global Racing Truck Series. And it looks like qualifying is wrapping up now. Looks like, for the most part, everybody has gotten their laps in, and I do believe we have the grid set for today's action. Of course, David Holsey going to be on the pole today. Mark Royce going to be in second place. Stephen Hayes going to be starting in third. Austin McGill starts in fourth. Bobby Mantle fifth. Chad McGinley in sixth place. Don Blazier seventh. Justin LeBlanc in eighth. Steve Gerber ninth, and Daniel Ott rounds out the top 10.
In 11th place, we've got Steve Knight. 12th place, Jeffrey Weimer. 13th, EJ Luna. 14th, Ricky Hudges the second. 15th, Joshua Slade. 16th, Ron Harrington. 17th, Kenny Heath, and 18th, Ron Holmes.
This is going to be a tough race. I mean, I'm looking at, of course, the length of it is quite substantial. 200 laps. That's a long one. This is going to be, I mean, I think this is about a third, 2/3 of the actual Cup race.
Yeah.
A lot of ways. So this is going to be a long one, guys. So everybody buckle up, get your snacks, make sure you got you a cooler or some drinks right beside you. We're going to have us a good time, though. I'll tell you that. No matter what, me and Austin, when we're in the booth, we're going to have us a good time. One thing about it, I mentioned about that being a difficult part about it, but what's going to be even more difficult, Austin, these guys only have 5 sets of tires, 4 actually down in the pits. That's going to make this really difficult. That means these guys really are going to pretty much have to do 50 laps per tire, or per sets of tires almost, or maybe, I don't know. It just you're gonna have to sacrifice. Like, every time a caution comes out, you're not coming down pit road. I just know that. You know?
Yeah, you're going to have to average about, I think it's 40 laps on each set if we've got 5 sets. So, I mean, if a caution comes out 20 laps in, you've got a big decision, right? If a caution comes out again within 60 laps, then you're kind of on the short end of the stick. You're going to have to wait an extra set of tires. So we could see strategy come into play pretty heavily here with the lack of tire sets, and I kind of like that. it's going to make for an interesting race, especially with it being 50 laps longer than NIS is this week. So I could definitely see people taking it easy on tires early and really trying to maybe save their sets for later, because those could really come in handy towards a late 10 lap to go restart.
Yeah, I think this could be really interesting. I think this is going to be, a lot of these guys are going to be a lot more cautious, and I think because of how long this race is, we don't have as many drivers as we usually do in the Global Racing Truck Series. Only 18 showed up, which is kind of, I mean, heck, if I had to do a 200 lap race in New Hampshire, I don't know if I'd show up either. But this is going to be a really good show for us up here. I mean, I got my coffee beside me. I'm ready to get going. David Holsey, he's ready to get going. I know he's been aching to get himself a good finish this season. He's had a lot of bad luck. So I definitely am excited to see what he can do. Of course, Mark Royce, he's been fast. Stephen Hayes. We got a lot of drivers up here in this field that are really quick and are going to be doing their best to get something done here.
Yeah, especially the two guys in the front row.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, my apologies. Go ahead. Starting the race.
Green flag out. I was just going to say one driver I don't see, Dale Brooks. I'm kind of sad to see that. He is, I do believe, the points leader. But green flag is out as we enter turn number 1. David Holsey able to secure the lead side by side for second place. You see Mark Royce almost pinching Stephen Hayes down. Now turn 1's a doozy at this racetrack. I expected it to be a little bit more intense than that, but I think a lot of these guys realize that, hey, we have a long way to go, and there's going to be plenty of opportunities to make passes here. Of course, this is a track that's very difficult to pass, but for the most part, I do believe we have single filed out in the top 6. You see Don Blazer right now side by side with Justin LeBlanc.
Yeah, we saw just a little bit of minor contact going into turn 1. I think third place there, Stephen Hayes, got a little held up behind the leader. He maybe broke a little bit earlier than he expected, and Bobby Mantle got into the back of Stephen Hayes a little bit, but everybody was able to keep it straight and come off the corner nice and orderly. And we've got a side-by-side battle here for third with Austin McGill and Stephen Hayes.
That we do. Hayes trying to go to the inside. Yep, we do. And the one we're seeing right now, that was the 28 to the 23 there, 6th and 7th battling. Now we're looking back up towards the front there. McGill and Hayes still battling. Looks like McGill will get the position wrangled there. And I know that just kind of harkening back to last week's race at Mid-Ohio, Austin was just nuts with how good he was, as we see Steve Gerber having some issues taking the road course part of the track. So let's take a replay here and see exactly what happened with the 8 machine. This is the track where it's very easy to get loose on your own, and I think that's probably what happened. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Especially
out of turn 2, man.
Oh yeah, it's so easy. I mean, you get a lot of guys come to a track like this. You being used to using the gas pedal almost like it's an on and off switch. This track teaches you all about throttle control. You have to be gradual when it comes to the application of the gas.
Yeah, and coming out of turn 2, especially, so these are such tight corners. You know, you're coming all the way around. It's a 180-degree corner both ways around. But turn 2, there's a little bump coming out of the corner, and you've got so much wheel put in it, and you're trying to get on the throttle at the same time. So you're kind of getting a little tight coming out of the corner, and then once you go over that little hump and track out to the wall, you know, you've still got the wheel in it. You're trying to release the wheel, but if you've got a little bit too much wheel and a little bit too much throttle, that back end will just come out after you've been tight the entire corner. That little push-loose condition is probably what we're going to see coming out of turn 2, especially all day. Which, coming out of turn 2, it's probably the safer one to do it. You're probably just going to take a trip through the grass like we saw earlier from the 8. But coming out of turn 4, if you do it out of turn 4, you're nosing it into the inside wall and your day's going to be done. So I'm sure you'll probably see a little bit more caution towards the beginning of this race, but towards the end you might see those push-loose conditions really hurting our field.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of the trucks at this racetrack that much. I haven't really raced it a lot, but I have seen a lot of the next gens. And I know that they get very loose on the exits, and of course tire wear is something to also behold. It's going to be something that is going to affect these drivers. As we've been watching this battle kind of unfold with Justin LeBlanc, he has been getting, of course, been battling with Chad McGinley, and now it looks like Daniel Ott is going to get by him. So it looks like LeBlanc is struggling a little bit here. I'm not sure if his truck's maybe set up more for the long run, but he is starting to lose positions. And it's going to be hard to get those back. I mean, this is a place that is very difficult to pass. A lot of times when it comes to a pass, it takes multiple laps in order to get that pass done. But it looks like it wasn't really the case for Daniel Ott. He was able to pretty much quickly get by LeBlanc. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from the 62.
I'm really surprised at how high the line is in 1 and 2, especially entering 1. Like, to my experience on this racetrack, you really enter that 3rd lane, and I mean they're doing it again at 3 and 4, where they're just about out of the entire inner groove there, the first 3 lanes. I'm really surprised that they're using all the racetrack like that. Now, yeah, I mean the front of the pack, I mean they're literally in the 4th lane, and they're just cutting it down really hard on exit, probably to counteract that push loose that they would get out of 2. It lets you have a little bit straighter drive off. I don't know exactly how well that kind of line will work if they're in a side-by-side battle, because they'll obviously be kind of pinched up to the wall by the guy on the inside, but so far it's working for the people up front. They're absolutely pulling away. David Holsey's pulled just about a second gap on Austin McGill. It's about 0.8 of a second right now. And throughout the field, we are single file.
Yeah, I am seeing a little bit of a trend, though. Austin McGill, last time by, was a little over a 10th faster than David Holsey, so I don't know. Maybe, I mean, this is a track that's very easy to, I'd say, have one lap be a little bit slower than another. Like, this is a track that's very much about consistency. It's very easy to have a little bit of a flub up one lap and recover, so we'll have to see what the lap times look like this time by, and yeah, it is pretty much, I'd say, a pretty good trend here. Austin McGill is faster at the moment. Dan Holsey, he closed in about a 10th that lap. So I do expect, I think McGill is going to catch up to David Holsey, but passing him is going to be another thing completely. And I will say that the guys that are in the top 5, their pace is much better than the rest of the field right now. Like, if you look at the rest of the field, they're already into the 31-second range. These guys are still in the sub-31, so they're definitely showing a lot more speed. I think the top 5, this is where the battle for the win is going to come from in this top 5.
Yeah, and Austin McGill qualified 4th, and oh man, entering turn 1, he just about goes all the way up to the wall to get a straight drive off, and you can see how much time he gains down the backstretch here on David Holsey. I mean, Austin McGill, we learned last week, I mean, he's an absolutely fast racer. He kind of whooped the field at Mid-Ohio. He had one challenge after he made a mistake, but after he got back clear of Bobby Manno last week, he was able to pull back away and extend that lead back up to what it was before the little spin early. But so far he hasn't put a tire wrong, and he's climbed from 4th to 2nd, and he's absolutely gunning down the leader right now.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of fall off right now. We're only 13 laps into the run, and already we're seeing David Holsey 31.075 versus his fastest lap of 30.259. Looks like Holsey's having a little bit of a blinking issue right now, so hopefully he gets that took care of. But I do find it interesting that you were talking about Austin McGill, the way he's running his line. He is running a lot higher than I kind of suspected. I know that is the traditional groove of this racetrack. I know in the next gens, these guys are running actually on the bottom, which is kind of interesting to see the difference. I'm glad to see New Hampshire and the trucks is kind of staying to what it traditionally is. But yeah, fall off definitely seems to be a big deal. I'll tell you this though. Bobby Mantle, got to give another shout out to him from last week's races. We have a race for the lead going on. Looks like David Holsey getting a little bit loose off of turn 4. This is going to size him up for Austin McGill. Looks like McGill's going to probably have his groove. He's going to get a good run off of 2 here probably. Usually that top line gets a better run down the straight. Yep, there it is. He's going to have to lead. But I do, like I said, I want to give a shout out to Bobby Mantle. He had a phenomenal run last week at Mid-Ohio. Was the only one that was really able to challenge Austin McGill, and I think that's doing a lot for his confidence right now. I think that he has a good shot at getting a good finish here. Of course, he's being pressured a little bit by Don Glacier, but could definitely get him a top 5. And a lot of times when you get that kind of breakout finish, especially at a road course, that does a lot for your confidence.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we had mentioned last week he'd only had 1 top 5 on the year beforehand, and that, I believe it was on an oval, but for him to be running top 5 here on an oval after only having 1 the entire year beforehand, I mean, it's really impressive. Maybe he's kind of found something recently with his driving style that has kind of improved on the ovals. Maybe he's found something in the setups, but he's holding strong in 5th, and he's got Stephen Hayes in front of him right here. He was lightning quick last week after he had a really early mistake. He fell back to about 13th, 14th, 15th position right off the bat, off of the spin, and then climbed back up to 3rd, and he's pressuring for 3rd again this week here.
That's right. I forgot all about that. You're right.
He was side by side about a lap ago, but he's absolutely hounding Mark Royce right here. Royce is doing a good job running kind of a defensive line. Prevented Stephen Hayes from really peeking the nose under and getting a run down the front stretch, but Hayes has been hounding him here for a couple laps.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about this racetrack too is when you're having a hard time getting around someone, it slows everyone else down behind you as well. So this is bringing, of course, Bobby Mantle into it as well. You see Mantle now all over the back end of the 13 machine as well. Here comes Hayes to the inside of Royce. He's going to make the pass stick. You see, can Mantle follow his way on through as well? And I think soon they're going to catch up to David Holsey as well. You can see last time by Mark Royce, very slow lap, 31.796. I'm seeing a lot of struggle from Mark Royce and David Holsey. I feel like both of these drivers are not as set up for the long run. So I expect that when we have a stop, which I suspect is going to be a green flag stop, just considering how clean and green this race has been thus far, these guys are going to want to make adjustments.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple times, like we see a side-by-side battle back here behind Mansell. It's Don Blazier and Chad McGinley. You know, they were just about to make contact there in 3 and 4, but these guys seem to be very respectful, giving each other plenty of room. Whenever it seems like somebody's about to make a mistake or maybe get into somebody, you know, I think they know it's a long race and they're letting off. They're making sure they take care of each other a little early. And with Holsey and who was it else falling back, Mark Royce, you know, I think they took off really well, you know, the first 5-10 laps, but to our point earlier, we don't have many tire sets, and I really just think that they might have run their stuff off a little early. You know, you can really kill these tires in the first 10 laps and completely screw yourself for the rest of the run. So I'm sure it's kind of a learning experience, maybe especially from Holsey's perspective. You know, he checked out to about a second lead, and then McGill was able to run him down from 4th place. So I really think that you're going to see some differing strategies throughout the race, and I think you'll start seeing some of these people who are maybe falling back early on this first run. I think they'll kind of figure it out and kind of know to save for the long run in the future.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely agree. I think it's going to be all about the long run, and I think some of these guys in the first 5 or 10 laps have kind of burnt their stuff up, and that's the thing about it. I mean, it's always been the case that the first 5 to 10 laps on a run, especially on a track like this, are really important. I mean, if you kind of slide the tires too much in those first 5-10 laps, it's going to mess up the rest of your run, and you're not going to be able to really get that back. It's hard to cool the tires back down. Another driver I'm noticing is really struggling very hard is Daniel Ott. He was up in the top 10 fighting really well and was getting by Justin LeBlanc, you know, was making all sorts of passes. He's now back to 12th, and he's running like the slowest laps in the track right now, or at least the slowest laps around him. I mean, there are drivers that are just a little bit slower. I also want to mention, it looks like Ronald Holmes has come down pit road. He's about 3 laps down and is out of the race car right now. I'm not sure what happened to him.
Well, while he's in the pits, we actually have a side-by-side battle for second here.
We do.
Stephen Hayes, I mean, he's continuing his pace from last week. And we see the same thing from Bobby Mantle. I mean, he's going to follow him right through for 3rd place, and he's been hounding Stephen Hayes for the past couple laps. And they're just both moving through the field. Don't quite have the pace for McGill quite yet, but it is early in the race. You got time to make adjustments. And again, just with the tire sets, you really have no idea how the strategy is going to play out. If we do get a caution before, lap 40 on any of these runs, you really could see some differing strategies, and maybe you'll see a 2nd or a 3rd place car like Stephen Hayes or Bobby Mantle go off strategy to try to get lucky and see if they can pressure Austin McGill off of a pure strategy race later in the event.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure on what the fuel window is. I do know what it is for the next gen, which is 90 laps. So I would assume that it's very close to that. I would actually probably go around about 75, I would think, just because usually the trucks have a little bit of a smaller fuel tank. But we do have some more side-by-side battle. Chad McGinley and Mark Royce are fighting right now. Mark Royce is just taking a quick trip back to the back if he don't watch himself. As he is going to get, I do believe, still battling, though. He still has a chance to keep it here. Also, David Holsey having to fight with Don Blazier right now for that 4th spot.
Yeah, the pole sitter, unfortunately, is just falling back. And to your point, I do believe the pit window is about 90 laps. So, I mean, if we do get a long green flag run, does somebody maybe try to push that to 100? You know, I mean, I think it's really 92, 93. So if somebody can push that to the halfway point and cut out a pit stop, you know, that could be an interesting strategy. I just feel like that would maybe be a little too long, on the tires especially. I think probably setting it up in 2/3 and taking 2 4 tire pit stops would be better if we do run green. But with the mistakes that we do see out of turn 2 a lot, I think that's probably unlikely. But I wouldn't be upset with it, especially with it being such a long race.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like, I mean, it's got a lot of the hallmarks of a green race. But then again, I mean, for 200 laps for that all to go green, that would be quite the accomplishment. But we'll see. I mean, I do think we're going to see green flag stops, and that is something that I think is a rarity at a track like New Hampshire. I don't think you see that very, very often. So I think we're going to get to see it here today. So definitely interested to see. And I think you're right. You don't want to try to split this race in half and try to save. You're just going to lose so much time. But you know, I think you're gonna probably, if you try to do that, you probably lose more time than it would cost to do a pit stop, and also having the newer tires would gain you time. I mean, we're seeing fall off right now. Virgin on a second right now. Some guys are falling off almost a second and a half.
Yeah, and you've got
like
David Halsey. that was a rough one right there, wasn't it? You'll probably hear a couple voice cracks out of me here pretty soon, so you know you won't be alone with that. But our pole sitter David Halsey, man, he was passed for the lead about 10 laps ago, and he's already dropped back to 6th place. You know, I think he's just really struggling with that right front tire. I don't know if I've seen him get loose too many times, but, you know, he definitely seems to have pushed it a little hard early. I don't know if it's just that his setup is just really good on the short and, you know, it just dies after about 20 laps. But, you know, he's fell back a good ways, and taking care of that right front tire at a track where you have to make 2 180-degree corners is so important. But we just haven't seen, I don't know, from David Halsey. I'm just surprised to see him drop back to 6th so early after an absolutely flying qualifying lap.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's you know, qualifying is not always indicative. Oh, looks like we're having some technical difficulties there. Qualifying is not always indicative of your race pace. So I don't know. I mean, I think I am surprised that he doesn't have a better car underneath him or truck underneath him. I mean, it could all be driver related, but Halsey's usually a good driver, like when it comes to saving tire. So I don't know. I think it might be something to do with his setup, and maybe he just didn't come here as prepared as possibly he could have. This is a big missed opportunity though for him. I mean, Dale Brooks is not here. I mean, of course, there still is some very talented drivers that are very competitive here. But this could have been his opportunity to really get a good win here. And, you know, he hasn't had a lot of luck this season. So it looks like battling's still going on here. Don Blazier, Chad McGinley. Blazier's looking really good tonight. I'm just impressed. I mean, I know Don, he usually has a lot of bad luck. He's shown speed, little glimpses of just being fast, but hasn't shown speed and speed like this. I think he's doing good right now.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. He's came from 7th place here, and now he's challenging 4th, or challenging for 4th, and he's just been moving methodically up the field, you know, taking care of his stuff. He's given a lot of room coming off the corner. I really think he could get this pass done if maybe he was a little less friendly, but, you know, it is still early in the race, and, you know, you don't want to make anybody too mad early, get anybody, you know, sideways and have something bad happen to you later in the race because of something you did early. Obviously, you don't want to see anybody retaliate, but, you know, if you get bumped sideways and you get back to somebody, you know, you might give them the old chrome horn, give them a little Dale Earnhardt treatment. But so far, everybody's being nice and clean.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm telling you, man, I don't see how Austin McGill's doing what he's doing. He's pretty much doing what he did at Mid-Ohio. 3.5 seconds right now. He's got a gap. Last time by, he was a 1/10 and a half faster than pretty much everybody else in the field. I mean, he's going to just keep on building this gap. And it seems like this guy's just really good at saving tires, really good at being fast. I am noticing that Bobby Mantle is turning laps that are faster than Stephen Hayes right now, so I do suspect that Mantle's possibly going to be challenging for 2nd place very soon. But this has been crazy to see. And also, Chad McGinley, he's showing some really good pace as well. He's got a top 3 truck, if you judge on his pace he's got right now.
Yeah, and going back to what you were talking about with Austin McGill, he's just, I've been watching him the last couple laps. He's still running that 4th to 5th lane. I think he missed the corner in turn 1 and 2 here, but he's still running that 4th lane in both corners and just really waiting on the throttle, right? He's not abusing that right front like I think most people are. Kind of probably using a little bit less brakes, letting off the gas a little bit early getting into the corner, and just letting the car naturally rotate. And he's just getting such a straight run off the corner. And I really think that's where he saved his tires, because we're 35 laps in now. Like you've mentioned, the tire fall off has been immense so far. But for him, he's still just continuing to stretch his gap incrementally every lap by lap. But we are still on lap 37, so I think we could still see a late restart challenge from someone like Stephen Hayes or Bobby Mantle, or if we get some type of strategy offset. We saw how fast David Holsey was on the beginning and in qualifying. So if he finds himself in the top 4 to 5 on a late restart, I think David Holsey really still could be in this race.
Yeah, he definitely could be. I mean, I definitely think so. I mean, it looks like his pace is coming back to him a little bit. I mean, so we'll have to wait and see. I mean, and like I said, if he could just make some adjustments on that car, I mean, it could be something simple like a tire pressure or something like that. We'll have to wait and see. But you see Mantle has caught up to Hayes, and the thing about it is dirty air is very big here as well. So I think that Mantle's going to have a tough time, especially with the older tires that these guys are on now. The closer he gets to Hayes, I think the worse his car is going to start to handle.
Yeah, I think you can probably already see that getting in the corner. He gets a little tight, and he drives it in really deep, trying to get the clean air on his outside. You're really using all the way up to the wall there. But just about a side-by-side. Oh, Stephen Hayes gets super loose in the corner. They make contact. Bobby Mantle's in the wall on the backstretch.
And caution flag is out as Bobby Mantle is going the wrong way around. As we have our first caution on lap 39. We got to look back at that one. Stephen Hayes definitely, I think, like you said, got into the wall. Mantle just was not able to avoid him. You see Hayes right here. Oh, he got loose on the exit. Yeah, push loose on the exit at turn 2. And unfortunately, Bobby Mantle, I think, paid the price more. And luckily, everybody was able to get around. Luckily, they have recently had an update to the truck damage model that should keep Mantle in this race. I don't think this is going to kill him.
Yeah, you hate to see the right front hit the wall like that, though. That's one of the worst hits you can take, especially damaging that right front tire on a track like this. So it's going to be interesting to see how much damage he might have off of that. But I'm going to try to get a good look at his right front tire as everybody else is coming down pit road.
Yeah, let's take a quick commercial break after we saw that caution flag come out. We'll be right back with some more action here in the Global Racing Truck Series at New Hampshire.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to Grid Vision's presentation of the Global Racing Truck Series. Of course, my name is Brian Britt. I have Austin Edstrom in the booth with me. Of course, Austin Derbyshire down behind the cameras. We're getting ready to go back green here at New Hampshire. Stephen Hayes, of course, in control here. Was able to win the race off pit road there. Green flag is out in the air. And of course, luckily that green flag, or that caution flag, came out right in pretty much when the tire kind of cycle was meant to happen. We talked about 40 laps per tire, or sets of tire. That kind of worked out well. As you see a battle there, I do believe Don Blazier trying to get underneath Mark Royce. Also, you see the 12 of Joshua Slade. This is a driver we haven't seen or talked about as well here tonight, trying to work his way up into the top 5.
Yeah, they're side by side throughout the field, but we saw Stephen Hayes get a great restart, but Austin McGill was able to hound him in 3 and 4. Just got a little loose, wasn't able to completely get alongside, but he's going to be able to turn under him coming off of turn 2 here. Austin McGill trying to take the lead back right away. He lost it on the pit cycle, but he's side by side entering turn 3 with the, I would say, preferred line. He'll be able to just drive it in as deep as he can here. Yep, that's what he does. Goes as low as he possibly can. He's going to try to slide up right in front of Austin Hayes. Oh no, he holds the bottom line all the way around. Maybe sacrificing a little bit of exit speed, but he's still going to get the pass done.
Yep, able to take the lead back. Austin McGill back up to the point here. Looks like Stephen Hayes going to probably just stay where he's at. Of course, Mark Royce, we saw he was really fast on the short run in that first stint. He's going to try to get back up to second. Looks like he's going to probably be successful in doing that. But then again, he has been struggling on the longer run. So I'm wondering if he possibly hasn't learned a lesson.
Yeah, I mean, and Stephen Hayes, man, he's just getting tight out of every corner. He's hit the turn 4 wall a couple laps after getting pushed loose out of turn 2 and taking out Bobby Mantle a little earlier. And we didn't know how bad that damage was going to be on Bobby. Stephen Hayes tight loose again. Turn 2.
I don't know if whatever's happening is making it worse. I think maybe that him hitting the wall has maybe caused it to be worse. But it seems like he's having an issue. Maybe even, yeah, he does. You can see right on his right front, or on his left front, there's actually some damage as well. He's got more left side damage, I think, than he does rear or right side.
Yeah, his left side's actually more torn up than I would have expected. You know, he didn't take a huge hit, but the 2 cars did kind of get locked together in a weird kind of glitchy internet way for a second on that last wreck. So maybe that could cause a little bit more of that damage. But I was mentioning Bobby Mantle, his right front really got damaged in that last accident, and I really think the right side of the car is a little bit more important than the left. But you know, Stephen Hayes is going backwards while Bobby Mantle with the right front damage is going forward. So perhaps Mantle's not too killed, but you got to feel for him. He was having an absolutely hell of a run, making a move for second. You know, Stephen Hayes had made a mistake, and if they didn't get together coming off the corner, then Mantle would have been through to second clean. So kind of heartbreaking for him, but he has kind of worked his way back up to 10th here in the early stage of the second stint. Stephen Hayes is in a side-by-side battle for 4th place with Don Blazier. He's just that car's just twitchy. He's definitely got more damage than I would have expected off that accident.
Yeah, I didn't think he got the worst of it, and we're not really sure what Bobby Mantle's damage really is like, just considering he's been I think in a lot of traffic right now. So we'll have to really see when he gets kind of in a non-traffic situation where he can actually see what that truck can do. We'll see what it actually looks like. But here comes Blazier. Blazier still side by side, gets a little bit tight, has to get out of the gas in the center of the corner. He gets loose. He gets off the gas and not able to really maximize his exit speed. So that's unfortunate. Don Blazier probably going to be trying to get back to it again, but it's just so difficult to pass here. I'd say especially on the bottom. Hayes keeps getting incredibly close to that wall. He's having a tight condition. It is just not, something is not liking that. And I bet he's probably hoping that maybe we can get a quickie caution and he can go maybe make an adjustment to fix that.
Yeah, if I'm Stephen Hayes right now, I'm sweating bullets because this is early run on the new tires. You kind of expect that to be whenever the damage kind of affects you least, because you've still got as much mechanical grip through the tires as possible, right, at the beginning of the run. But as the run goes on, I would kind of expect it to hurt him a little bit more. You know, he's getting so tight in the middle of the corner and then loose off that not only is the damage hurting him, but the tires are going to start hurting him later in the run. So like I said, if I'm Stephen Hayes, I am nervous about the rest of this race.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you're only 53 laps into a 200 lap race. I mean, you know, you still, looking a little bit further back, David Holsey sends it in on Bobby Mantle and almost creams him.
That was a hell of a save, though.
Whoa, I thought David Holsey was getting ready to cause us a big one right there, but fortunately he did, he let it off the gas. He did get sideways, but was able to catch it.
Yeah, that's one of those oh crap moments, and you you grab your little brake bias knob and you turn it up a couple times, like, oh, okay, maybe I got into the corner a little heavy. Maybe I need to turn my brake bias up a little bit, make sure that doesn't happen again. At least for a few laps, kind of get your footing back under you. But you know, he did a great job keeping it off of him there. He ended up losing one of those spots back that he looked like he was going to get, but that was definitely a nerve-wracking moment. But back to Stephen Hayes, you know, with that damage on the left side, he actually came out of the pit stop first place, right? So he absolutely did not fix any of the damage in the last pit stop. I think that's a pretty big mistake, especially on the first pit stop with a 200 lap race, right? He could have absolutely gotten that fixed and climbed his way back through the field, but he's going to have to kind of delay that until the next caution. You know, there's no way that he's going to fix that under a green flag pit stop. So he's probably just begging for another caution to come out. You know, it was his mistake that put him in that situation, but you hate to see him compound it with maybe another pit road mistake. I'm sure he could have fixed some of that, but
yeah, I mean, he probably didn't think it was going to affect him as bad as it has. I think that, you know, I kind of understand that mentality, especially at a track like New Hampshire, like, you know, or, you know, a track like New Hampshire, Martinsville, any short tracks like that. A lot of times you get damage, you're like, oh, I'll probably be okay. But that's just kind of the because, I mean, usually damage doesn't really affect you as much at tracks like this. But it seems like whatever he's done to his truck is really affecting the handling. Now, handling is something you want at a track like this. And he definitely affected something in his, I'd say, suspension or something. Maybe even knocked a little bit of camber or toe out of it, you know?
Yeah, I didn't really think about that. Whenever, like I said, they had a little bit of a kind of weird internet connection dooring for a second before the actual spin happened and putting Mantle into the wall with the right front. So it very well could have damaged something in the left front tire that we weren't really aware of. You know, you just look at the body damage, and you know, left side door damage is not you know, end all be all for a race most of the time. But you know, if they did get kind of connected in a weird way and it pulled that left front tire in any sort of direction, it could definitely knock the toe out just a little bit and affect the rest of his race.
Well, and one thing also a lot of people at home might not realize, and is that whenever you come down pit road, it tells you how much damage you have. It doesn't say where your damage is. It just says a number on this is how much damage you have to fix. It doesn't say, like, actually, okay, your left front tire, you're having issues there. Like, I wish it was a little bit more specific of where the damage was. Because a lot of times, you're sitting in a cockpit, you can't see what damage you have. I mean, the only damage you really can see on your truck when you're sitting in it is your hood. That's pretty much all you can see. Of course, you could use a third-party software, I think, to tell where your damage is, but not everybody has that.
Yeah, you kind of, especially after you get some damage, you kind of wish you were maybe in like the F1 game where they've got that crazy in-depth, this is exactly how much damage you have. It's yellow here, it's orange here, it's red here, blah, 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 whatever it may be. Especially on iRacing, that'd be a nice little addition, but you know, I don't know if with it being a sim, like a full-fledged sim, I don't know exactly how, you know, legitimate that would be, but you know, definitely from the driver's seat, you wish that you could kind of have something telling you exactly what's going on. Bobby Mantle here, he's continuing to move forward. You know, his damage doesn't seem to be affecting him nearly as much as Stephen Hayes.
Yeah, I think it's because he actually came down, and I think he did try to fix some of it. I mean, well, there goes Jeff Weimer into the inside wall. Caution flag is going to come out again. This is going to be the opportunity Stephen Hayes probably has been wanting.
And this throws a wrench in the strategy, like I was mentioning earlier. I said if a caution comes out 20 laps into a run, that's where the really big decisions start coming in, right? So the field is thinned down from 18 to 15, at least competitive cars. So I think you'll definitely see Stephen Hayes come in here and fix his damage. Does he take tires? Probably.
Oh, wow. That was all by itself, too. No contact really caused that. It just he got loose racing Mantle. And, and unfortunately, he's probably going to have to come down to take tires, Jeff Weimer. I mean, just considering when you go sideways like that, that is going to definitely burn his tires up quite a bit.
Yeah, and you say unfortunately, I really do think that this could open the door, right? I don't think that these cautions are going to be and that's that push loose condition again. I think a little bit of air got taken off of him just from the fact he was so close to the door of Bobby Mantle, but I really think that this could be an opportunity for some of these guys in the back half of the top 10, right? Go off strategy. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You're not going to finish too much worse, I don't think, unless we just get an absolutely massive green flag run on a different stint where you're kind of stuck in the back. But we are seeing a couple people come down pit road here, including Stephen Hayes, like I figured.
Yeah, I definitely figured he'd be coming down. He's probably going to come down and get some damage repaired. I don't know if he's going to maybe take tires. This is going to be, I'll be curious to watch all of these guys to see if any of these guys do end up taking tires. Because this, yeah, I mean, you're right that this doesn't, this could be an opportunity, but it also could be an opportunity for a mistake, especially if we get cautions later down the road. If we get a caution with 10 to go or 20 to go and nobody has tires left, then these guys are going to be like, well, dang, why did I pit when I did?
Yeah, we see Stephen Hayes just sitting in the box. He's absolutely taking this time to get that damage fixed. I mean, he started on the what was it? He started first on that restart, and he dropped all the way to 5th. We just saw him struggling big time. So I think whenever he gets that damage fixed, he'll probably be in the same boat as Bobby Mantle. He was able to slowly pick through the field. And in fact, on this run, he'll be way ahead of Bobby Mantle, right? Like, everybody that's coming down pit road is just wishing for a huge green flag run right now. If they get that big green flag run to where they say, or the extra tire set for the other guys doesn't matter, I mean, they're just going to, Austin McGill will be a sitting duck to a lot of these guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, tires matter a lot. And we saw over a second of fall off, and that equates to quite a bit. And, we had a 20 lap run. I mean, these guys are that did take tires are going to be much faster. Of course, they still have to get through the tricky traffic. I mean, New Hampshire, very tricky to get through the traffic here. But I still think because they'll have the new tires, they'll have a little bit more maneuverability to make that happen. So who are we watching? Who are the guys we're watching that are on the fresh tires?
Well, obviously Stephen Hayes, but he's going to be at the very back, so he's going to have to get through old tires and new tires, and with a little bit of damage that he's fixed. But let's see. I'm really interested in Justin LeBlanc. I don't know if he took tires or not. He seemed to be the first one out of pit road, but he actually did not take tires. So maybe he was just kind of a fuel strategy thing. Maybe he was at the back of the half of it. So maybe Joshua Slade, Stephen Knight, they're the top 2 guys on tires, I believe. Mm-hmm. So really just watching to see how they do coming through the field. They probably should pick off LeBlanc quick since he didn't take tires. They'll pick off Harrington quick because he didn't take tires. But once they start getting, to 4th and 5th-ish, even though they're on older tires, will still be a more difficult pass. And McGill's definitely not going to roll over for any of these guys either. So I don't know. We'll definitely see. I'm interested in Stephen Hayes to see how much of a difference that damage repair makes. He was, 2nd to 3rd fastest early. And now, if you're 2nd to 3rd fastest early and the other 2 people that are faster than you are on older tires, all of a sudden you've got 20 lap fresher tires than them, and the strategy just plays right into your hand if we don't get another caution. So I'm really looking to see if this thing runs 70 laps. I'm really interested to see what Stephen Hayes does.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely interested to see what those guys on tires do. Like you said, Joshua Slade, I definitely think he was fast earlier too. I think this could be an interesting decision to make here as the green flag is back out here at New Hampshire. Looks like everybody able to get started fairly cleanly. I know this is kind of one of the first older tire starts that we've seen, and it looks like everybody was able to make that work as side by side. Chad McGinley already trying to battle there with Mark Royce. You also see Bobby Mantle and Don Blazer. Blazer getting a little bit loose off of turn 2. Oh, man, that's close. That is way too close for comfort right there. Don Blazer is not giving Mantle hardly any room. Caution flag back out on the racetrack. Not sure why.
Oh, no.
It's, Jeff Weimer. Oh, no. And
Stephen Hayes again. Stephen Hayes has some right rear damage.
No. It has gone from bad to worse for Stephen Hayes.
Oh, man. Jeff Weimer just got into the corner too deep here. Punt Stephen Hayes. Hayes had nothing to do with that, and that's not going to be too much damage. for Stephen Hayes. So I don't think that's too terribly bad. But you hate to see him put on tires like that and then get spun out because you
Yeah.
just kind of wear off the new of those tires that I really was thinking he was
Exactly.
gonna
You know,
be able to benefit off of.
I'd like to even. I'm wondering if Jeff Weimer. I mean, what was he doing there? Like, I mean, it seemed like he was. I just maybe missed it. Yeah, I mean, he looked like he definitely was not going to make that corner either way. And then unfortunately, Gerber just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think he got the worst end of it right there.
Yeah, it's gonna be some heavy
Fortunately,
right front on him.
he was already multiple laps down, but still, I mean, he could have definitely kept going. And you know, just unfortunate. I'm sure Weimer didn't mean to do it.
Yeah.
Look how far back Gerber was here. I mean, he probably had enough of a. I'd say
Yeah,
he had enough time to think, you know, hey, I can start slowing down now.
From
It didn't
what
seem
that
he was
looked
really
like,
slowing down.
yeah, he looked like he may have gotten on the brakes a little bit, and it made his car go straight. Going into the corner. You get on the brakes, you get on the nose of the car, and the car kind of wants to drift straight instead of being able to turn. And I think he eventually let off to try to turn left, but Weimer was also not completely on the brakes and rolling down the racetrack just a little bit. So I can't put that completely on Gerber for it being that late. But I really want to put some interest on Joshua Slade from that last restart. I don't think we caught it on the main broadcast, but he passed 3 cars, I believe, by the time he exited turn 2, and he made a nice 3-wide move through the middle in between Ron Harrington and somebody else on the outside, and he did a hell of a job on that restart. He picked off a couple.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look back and actually see what you're talking about. I didn't see it myself either, but yeah, Joshua Slade on the fresh tires. Looks like he was able to make hay while the sun shines. Let's see exactly what happened here. You see Ron Harrington kind of pulling down. And here comes Slade. He's gonna go through the middle, 3 wide. And look at that, just a huge bit of speed out of turn 2.
Yeah, that's just the new tires right there. And I said he passed 3 cars. I think he technically started in front of the 85. I think the outside line was just a little behind, but I kind of counted the 85 in that because he was ahead of him on the grid. But he did a great job on that restart. And I really think Slade's going to be able to push again on this restart. It bunches them back up immediately. Nobody's going to pit after 2 laps, even the guys that didn't pit. So on this next restart, man, he might pick off another couple of them.
I think he will, and like you said, if they go green, he's going to continue to pick them off as well. So watch out. I think the 12, he's the one that's most likely, I think, to get up there and challenge Austin McGill to possibly take the lead.
Yeah, and I still wouldn't count out.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I wouldn't count out Stephen Hayes either. That wasn't big contact, and honestly, a little bit of right rear damage where it just crunches up the bottom a little bit and maybe raises the spoiler in the air a little bit on the right side. That's not the worst damage in the world. You might actually get a little bit of extra downforce coming through the corner if the spoiler's a little bit up there catching a little bit more air. So you might see him a little faster off the corner now off that little bit of damage. You never know how the damage gods kind of will work. We saw in real life AJ Allmendinger did not have a real race-winning car at Nashville a couple weeks ago, and he got in a wreck, and they fixed that thing up with the spoiler a little bit higher in the air, and he took off. So we'll see if we see a similar thing here with Stephen Hayes.
Yeah, you're right. I've seen it time and time again where damage can sometimes help you. We'll have to wait and see. Pace car down pit road, and we enter the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back out in the air as Austin McGill gets a pretty good restart. Mark Royce with also a pretty good restart, able to really time it out. But it looks like Austin McGill will sail into turn 1. Let's check in on Joshua Slade. What's he doing on the fresh tires? As you see Mantle almost possibly going to go get taken 3 wide as Andy Watt thinks about looking to the inside, but the sign's against it. David Holsey sends it in. Almost, he was inches away from the back end of Chad McGinley there.
Yeah, and Slade's just kind of box in on this outside line, so he's not able to maybe make the most use of his tires early on the restart, but you still want to take care of them and make sure that you're good for the end of the run. And as soon as he finds a little bit of space, I really think he's going to take off on a lot of these guys. Looks like he's making the move around Ott right here, and he's got complete clearance, so you could see him making some moves on this 2-wide battle up here in front of him.
Yeah, of course that 2-wide battle is Bobby Mantle and David Holsey side by side right now. You see Holsey not trying to give Mantle a whole lot of room here. And of course, because of that pinching, it has helped out Holsey I do believe, defend and keep that 5th place position. But here comes Joshua Slade to the bottom, 3 wide, all the way down to the yellow line.
Oh, he pulls up right in front of Mantle, gets
barely.
He gets a bump, gets a speed boost. He's going to get past the 28 because he got loose coming out of the corner. Still side by side, but man, Ben Holsey just sends the, or sorry, not Ben Holsey, David Holsey just sends the car into the corner so hard every time. Just about 3 wide off the corner. Somehow he drives it in so deep and somehow gets a huge run to pass Don Glacier here down the front stretch. And Joshua Slade's just going to follow him right on through.
Yeah, I mean, David Holsey's actually looking pretty good right now. I'm wondering if maybe they made some adjustments to that race car or if he's sacrificing his tire life. Because he's holding off Joshua Slade, but this is looking like anything could go wrong at any second. I mean, these guys are battling 3 wide and just straight up sending it. There's not a whole lot of give and take going on right now. As you see David Holsey now up to that 4th place position, catches up to the back of Don Blazer. You see Chad McGinley trying to hold off Joshua Slade. Here comes Slade to the middle groove there.
Yeah, Slade's just getting held up
to the inside here.
Battles. Like,
yeah,
he's just, he's faster than these guys. He throws a little block on Bobby Mantle there. He knows he's got the best tires in the field, and he's in the best position out of all the tires. You know, he's just getting held up from from David driving it in so deep into every single corner, you know, and now he's stuck on the inside of McGinley here. Maybe losing another spot to Bobby. He thinks better of blocking him that time, but you know, that bottom lane is just not great. Sorry, I keep calling David Ben, by the way. That's somebody I know.
There's not a Ben in this series.
I don't know many Holseys, and the only one I know is Ben Holsey. I do. So if he's watching, he's having a nice little giggle right now, but that's probably not the last time I'm going to make that mistake.
And there goes David Holsey, though, able to clear up to now 3rd place. All this battling, though, has helped Austin McGill and Mark Royce kind of pull away. Of course, Austin McGill has pulled away even more. He's got about a 2.6-second gap back here to David Holsey. And, of course, a 1.4-second gap to Mark Royce. Of course, I do believe we just saw Don Blazer get quite loose off of turn 2. This could spark another 3 wide, and I think it does. Yep. David Holsey, or Joshua Slade through the middle here. There's packed in here like sardines. One little mistake could cause an issue, but it looks like no, they were able to keep it going right. These guys are showing off a lot of I'd say they're almost like surgeons the way they're making these moves.
Yeah, just the way that these corners work, it seems like everybody drives into turn 1 a different way. Gets a little checked up, and then, you know, somebody who wants to kind of get a better exit by giving up the entry of the corner just kind of gets boxed in by a 2 wide battle or by somebody that wants to run a completely different line. But we see Joshua Slade here finally. He's kind of finally cleared the pack. He did a great job in terms of like patience, right? I mean, he could have absolutely damaged that truck in one of those 3 wide battles, but he kept it absolutely clean. There were multiple times where he had a run through the middle of the corner, and he got on the brakes coming out of the corner whenever he should have been on the gas so that he wouldn't run into somebody. So he did it the cleanest way possible, and now he's up to 3rd by himself, no traffic. So this is really where we're going to see, okay, are these tires that big of a deal? Is he going to really be able to run down our leaders here?
Well, I'll tell you one person that's really struggling right now that I think that he's going to easily run down is Mark Royce. Last time by, I mean, he was like a 31.9, and of course he did better that lap this time with a 31.4, but he's definitely a lot more off the pace, I'd say. And you see Slade, it takes no time at all for him to catch up to Mark Royce.
Slade actually cut 3/10 out of the lead that lap, and Royce was 2/10 off of the lead. So he's about half a second faster than Mark Royce here. And, you know, if he can dispose of him quickly, I mean, he's really going to be able to run down McGill. It just depends on, you know, when does the tire fall off kind of max out, right? There's kind of a max lap time that you kind of get once you have your tires worn in, unless you've just absolutely murdered your right front. So it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, do the tires level out at some point to where Slade's advantage isn't so much of an advantage anymore. We'll see this lap. You know, he made the pass. If he's still gaining on McGill this lap, even with making moving 1 and 2, it's going to be a really big tell about how the rest of this run's going to go.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I mean, last time by he was about 2/10 faster than McGill, and yeah, he's going to plateau. He's going to. It's going to happen. And does he fall victim to that carrying on a stick as well? Seeing that, oh, I'm gaining so much on Austin McGill, let me drive it just that much harder. You know, you can't fall to that temptation. You got to just kind of almost like what Bobby Mantle was doing last week at Mid-Ohio. Like, he wasn't letting anyone kind of affect the way he was driving. Like, he was just like, I'm just going to run my pace. Like, don't push it. Because, I mean, then, like you said, you're going to hit that plateau and it maybe even worse. We don't know what Joshua Slade's car looks like on the longer run as well. So even if he catches up to McGill, could he already have, too much wear on his tire to even be able to fight it? Because we see Stephen Hayes, he's been making some progress here. He's on the newer tires, but of course he did have a little bit of a sideways thing under that last caution. But it seems like it's not affecting him too much. He's now up to 6th place, side by side with Mantle.
Yeah, he just couldn't really get the power down off that corner being on the inside, but those newer tires are definitely still helping him out. After a slide, once you kind of get the tires cooled back down, worn back to kind of even, you can really kind of make your hay like you were earlier. But to our point earlier, Joshua Slade is running down the leader ever so slightly. The one thing he just does not want is a caution, right? If somebody makes a mistake behind him and everybody gets kind of put back on the same cycle, that would be the worst thing possible for these guys that just put on tires, because they will be down a set, or they'll have to stay out and just be sitting ducks to the rest of the field. So if a caution comes out right now, all these guys are going to be throwing their controllers.
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at lap times here for Austin McGill. I think he is starting to pretty much match step for step Joshua Slade. I think Slade is starting to hit that plateau in a lot of ways here. We still see heavy racing going on right here for the 4th place position. Chad McGinley, he's looking really good here today. He just got clear of Mark Royce. Of course, you mentioned it. We're about 45 laps into this stint for the guys that are on the older tires. Of course, about 23 for the guys that just pitted about 23 laps ago. So, yeah, if a caution did happen right now, I guarantee you McGill, all the guys that have not pitted in the last 40-so laps, they're going to be coming down. I mean, because that makes the most logical sense. And the rest of these guys, I think Slade, they probably might not come down. But we have a 3-wide condition here. EJ Luna, first time we really talked about that truck, the 24 there, he took him 3 wide. Ooh. Mark Royce comes down in front of him. Almost could have had some contact there. I think this is the point in the race where Royce is starting to struggle a lot. You can see lap time-wise, he is not.
Bobby Mantle gets put into the outside wall in the exit of turn 2 for the 2nd time this race, and neither one of them were his fault. I mean, goodness gracious, this guy cannot catch a break. He was the 2nd fastest car on track earlier in the race, and he cannot catch a break.
I'll take a look back at this and see exactly what just happened with Bobby Mantle. And it looks like
I guess that one was his fault.
He got loose. He got loose. I mean, there was stuff going on in front of him, and I think maybe that provoked him to get loose. He might have, I don't know if you could look through the cockpit camera, he might have made a move in order to avoid these guys in front of him. Because, I mean, you could see that right beside him and in front of him, there was stuff going on. You see right here, you see EJ Luna kind of tags Mark Royce. I think that Bobby was kind of reacting to what was going on around him and made him maybe a misstep because of it.
Yeah, I think you had that dead on. From the first view that we had before the replay, like whenever it was live, I just kind of saw Mark Royce come across the track after that contact from EJ, and I thought Bobby Mantle was just a completely innocent bystander, but he did make that little bit of a mistake, and but whenever you're trying to dodge a potential wreck, it's, you never really know what's going to happen. It's a tough ask out of turn 2 at New Hampshire.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're already committed at a track like this, especially on the exits. I mean, this place, you can't really. It's almost like dirt racing. You can't change where you're going on the exits of these tracks. You know what I mean?
Oh no, absolutely not. You're kind of committed to your line unless you get bumped out of it or you get a little loose or a little tight. But I kind of want to highlight Stephen Hayes here. He's done a good job working his way up to 5th with the damage. Obviously, he's got the newer tires, but for some reason down the straightaways, I don't know if he's down on power or if it's a little bit of aero deficiency that's causing him to be poor down the straights. But I was noticing, even with the new tires, he was on the outside line where you should get the better run out of these corners on a lot of these guys, but they would just pull him back and gap him down the straightaway. And you kind of see it here. I felt like he got a better exit than McGinley in front of him, but he just doesn't have the giddy up down the straightaway.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, I'm seeing what you're saying. He's kind of getting gapped a little bit by a couple feet on the straightaways. You see right here, in the corners, he's running these guys over. Like, I mean, he's so fast in these corners, and I think a lot of that is because of his lack of speed, straightaway speed. So this could be, pros and cons, advantage, disadvantage in a lot of ways. I feel like in the corners, this is going to help him out a lot. It seems like, but in the straights, it is really much hurting him. It looks like Mark Royce taking green flag pit stop. This is interesting as we see Chad McGinley, of course, now going to the inside of David Holsey, battling for the third position, not quite able to get there. But, yeah, I mean, Stephen Hayes, you talked about him having more downforce as well, maybe getting that spoiler put up in the air a little bit. I think that's what's helping him through the corners as well. And this is a track where you want as much help through the corners as you can. They're long and sweeping, and a lot of the drivers out here, I think, are being tested to their limits. Even though we were at Mid-Ohio last week, that's a track that tests you as well. But this track really, I think, highlights weakness in a lot of ways with how long and sweeping the corners are, and how a lot of times you have to roll the center, or you have to be kind of just barely on the throttle or just barely on the brakes. It's not cut and dry like a lot of other tracks are. And so I think that we see that a lot of weaknesses highlighted at this track. But, I mean, of course, him having a little bit more downforce is really helping him, I think.
Well, and you got to think, too, he's got newer tires, like 20-lap newer tires than all these guys. So I think that might be the bigger help in the corners than the aero. The aero, like we have mentioned, might be helping him a little bit, too. But, I mean, if he's going to be that slow down the straightaways, it really doesn't matter, because whenever they all put on the same set of tires, right, if we get towards the end of this race and everybody's on the same set of tires and he's still got that straightaway deficiency, there's no way that he's going to be able to hold on to a top 7, top 8 finish. I just don't see it.
I also do want to update a little bit on the Joshua Slade thing. We were talking about him. He has plateaued, and he's actually struggling at the moment. 31.8.24 last time by. He was a tenth slower than Austin McGill, and slower than a lot of the drivers that are behind him as well. So I'm seeing as well. I don't think he's got the long run pace. I think that gamble. I don't know if it's because of the way he was driving it. Because, I mean, like I said, you fall victim to that carrot on a stick. Did he try to chase down Austin McGill and try to chase that carrot, and that could have caused him to burn his stuff up, or is it something to do with the setup?
I mean, it could be a little bit of both too. He did have to run through a lot of drivers there on the restart, so he definitely could have wore off that new out of his tires, just trying to make some, a little bit more daring moves. We saw him go 3 wide 2 or 3 times, and like I said, he had to get on the brake to avoid a couple times too. You never really know exactly how hard somebody's pushing. You can see some of it whenever they get off a corner and you see their right rear step out, but or in David Holsey's case, just diving it into the corner and chewing the right front up. But he's definitely fallen back kind of to the clutches of Chad McGinley and Stephen Hayes. Hayes is on the same tires as him, so it's interesting to see that towards the end of this run, Hayes is kind of able to pick up where Slade's kind of slack has started, I suppose. And even with his deficiency, he was only 4,000 slower than the leader that lap, Stephen Hayes. So again, I'm worried if he gets on the same tire strategy as everybody else, but he's still logging really good laps at this point of the race.
Well, and I think that maybe if he has some sort of horsepower deficiency or something like that could be helping him save tire as well, because he won't be really able to spin them quite as much. So, I mean, there's definitely going to be some pros and cons. You see, I do believe Stephen Knight trying to get by David Holsey here. Holsey is struggling. He is on the struggle bus right now. He is starting to fall back. And this has kind of been the day that Holsey has had. He's qualified on the pole, led a few laps early, but now it's just been struggle. I mean, every time he's been on a longer run, it's been a struggle. He actually fighting back here, sends it in. And I think this is why he's struggling. I think this is exactly why he's struggling, because he doesn't seem to want to be passed. And because he's making these kind of big moves, trying to drive it in so deep, that is not having a pleasant effect on those tires.
Yeah, I feel like he kind of got boxed into making a move there. Like, he's definitely driving it in deep, don't get me wrong, but we did kind of see the 79 of Stephen Knight. He got into the corner about as heavy as Holsey does on the beginning of runs. So we see somebody coming down pit road. I couldn't quite see who that was.
Chad McGinley.
Yeah, Chad McGinley making a pit stop after about, I believe, 60 laps on his tires. Bobby Mantle too. So that's interesting. 60 laps. I guess they're still splitting the 2/3. They didn't want to do a one pit stop off of that. So it's an interesting strategy decision. They'll probably lose a lap to McGill here, who's still just skating away from the field. I mean, it's so impressive. There are people on new tires in second, third, and fourth, and McGill just, I mean, the way he enters the corner, it's so smooth. Yeah, he's not putting a foot wrong. Look at the front end of that car. I mean, it just does not leave from exactly where he wants it. He just lets it drift slowly up the corner, come back down nearly to that bottom set of dashes on the inside line there. Doesn't use that kind of weird off camber banking on the inside, and he just lets the car roll where it wants to go, right? He's not forcing anything, and he's just not, killing the tires like we've seen some of these guys do into the corner. And I think that's why he's able to save that right front so well, even compared to the people on new tires.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Out of that whole thing you just said, I think the key is that he is letting the truck go where it wants to go, and he's able to do that because he's not being pressured. He doesn't have anybody really fighting him right now, and he's been lucky, I'd say, all race and not having a lot of that. As you see Ricky Hudgens as well coming to pit road, so it looks like green flag stops. Definitely well and truly on the, definitely happening right now. I'm wondering if Austin's going to pit anytime sooner. Is he going to, because I think he has maybe the possibility. No, I don't know if he can really. He might be able to make it work on just one stop with the way how good he's been on his tires at the moment. But still battling there for Stephen Knight and David Holsey. These guys will not leave each other alone. Do have a graphic on the screen here that shows you, of course, the differences in the pit strategies here for a lot of different drivers here as well.
Yeah, I think Austin's one of the few that could really make this kind of like the one stop from lap 40, right? So he very well could come down any lap, but just the way that he's driving, it's just so smooth, so methodical. Like he's not making any mistakes, and he's not wearing the tires out. So I mean, he could absolutely run it longer. I mean, he's still running faster laps than second and third place who are on 20 lap pressure tires than him. So he's doing an absolute hell of a job out front. And honestly, the one thing that could ruin his race, not necessarily ruin, but could really take him out of it, is these people who have just put on tires, right? They could absolutely get up, pass him, get back on the lead lap, and then McGill could pit maybe just a little too late and go a lap down to some of these people who pitted on the last caution, like Joshua Slade, like Stephen Hayes. And if he goes a lap down and then gets a caution before he gets his lap back, all of a sudden he's the one at the back of the pack, right? The lucky dog spot only gets to start at the back of the field. He'll be in front of the wave around cars, but he'll have to start at the back of the lead lap. And I think he's fast enough to where he could make it back up to the front, but he would then be on even tires with everybody again after the caution. And that could be, I think, the one thing that could ruin McGill's race is if a caution just comes out at the very imperfect time for him after a pit stop.
No. Stephen Hayes has taken over P2. Of course, looks like EJ Luna is also looking to possibly take over P3. I think he's another one that was on the newer tires there. Of course, he is a Lone Star driver as well, so no wonder. It looks like these guys, Lone Star definitely has been coming to about every race, I'd say, prepared to do some business out here. And definitely you can see that those guys definitely have a lot of speed. But no, I think you're right. I think if Austin gets in traffic, that's just no matter what, even if it's a missed time pit stop, if he gets in traffic, that could be bad for him. I mean, because we've been talking about, he just lets the truck do whatever it's going to do. He's not going to be able to do that if he's in traffic. And also there's a chance of maybe some guys race him a little too hard. I mean, as the race goes on, as we get closer and closer, we just crossed the halfway point 8 laps ago. As we get closer and closer to the end of this race, these guys are going to get a little bit more desperate, and they're going to get tired. We haven't talked about this in quite some time, considering this is quite a long race. Looks like Joshua Slade has decided to come down pit road. And I don't think he is actually not in his pit stall. He has decided to, I think, give up. He just took a tow. And that actually speaks into my point about this being such a long race. A lot of these guys are going to become somewhat demotivated, somewhat their focus is going to be waning as well. They're going to get aggravated. Short track tempers, I don't think you've really seen short track tempers until you've done a 200 lap race at New Hampshire.
That's a great point. And for Slade, I hate to see him back out like that, but he was sideways off of so many corners, man. Before Stephen Hayes was able to get by him, I was kind of paying attention to Slade, and man, he was sliding that thing off of every corner, just having a rough time. And I really think he just really pushed hard at the beginning of the run to try to get to McGill. and just kind of wore his stuff out. And I don't know, like to your point where you were saying he may have gotten a little demotivated. You know, he was starting to lose positions, and maybe he was just like, you know, this isn't going the way that I had expected it to, and he just expected to fall back further through the field. But I don't know. I think he was still on for a relatively good finish, maybe a top 5.
Yeah.
He would have had some good tires after the pit stop, you know, and run down some of these guys that pitted earlier. So a little dejected to see him back out like that, because I think he had something good going.
Yeah, I mean, he still definitely could have definitely helped him. He could have salvaged something, that's for sure. I definitely agree to you there. I think he could have definitely had at least a lead lap finish, top 10, and that would have been some good points, a good points day for Joshua Slade. But you know, you can't get that if you're not in the race. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, even though we're looking real clean and green right now, like it looks like we're going to have a long green flag run, anything could happen that could give him an edge. I mean, just like what happened there with him taking tires at that stop whenever he did. I mean, that gave him an edge to get up to second place and almost run down Austin McGill. I mean, something like that can happen again that could give him an opportunity to get a good finish. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen. If you're not here, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I'm still really interested in McGill. Just the fact that a lot of guys have pitted who are on his same tire cycle, right? But with him still kind of running, I mean, I think EJ Luna might be catching him a little bit, but at this point, he's 7.5 seconds back. You know, I don't think anybody's going to be able to challenge him other than if something happens in this pit cycle. You know, I really think that that's probably on the edge of his mind, trying to make sure that he doesn't go like a lap down or anything off of the pit cycle, and make sure, you know, it's at the perfect opportune time for him. You know,
he's starting to struggle a little bit. You can see he's getting loose. I think he might be. I think he's going to be coming down soon. I mean, and looking at EJ Luna also, Luna's been showing some really good pace as well. I don't know, that last lap, he kind of started to get caught by Stephen Hayes again. But I'm seeing a little bit of struggle from Austin McGill. This is the first time I think he's hit the 32-second range. 30.3, of course, was his fastest lap so far. So he's almost, he's fallen off about, I do believe, about 1.7 seconds at the moment. So I think he's going to be coming down very soon. Of course, he's just over 70 laps on his stint. So I do expect it. Yep, maybe now. Nope, he looks like he's staying out again. It's a hard place to pit. Can you speak on that as well, Austin? I know that you have a lot of experience, you know, on the racetrack. I know probably predominantly in the next gen. But tell us about how difficult it is to pit at New Hampshire.
Well, it's kind of one of those weird things, because most of the time I run this racetrack, we get a lot of cautions. So I don't know how many times I don't know how many times I've done green flag stops here, but it is a tough track, right? Like, the whole point of the corner, especially 3 and 4, as we see Austin McGill finally come down, you know, to get your max speed, you want to run that high side, right? You want to get up in the corner, use the 3rd, 4th groove, and cut it down. So, you know, in Austin McGill's position, I think it becomes a little easier because he's built such a lead. He can really just kind of enter on the bottom nice and slow, not make any risks, you know, not do anything that could really take him out of the race. So he could just kind of enter the bottom and not do anything too crazy. But if you've got somebody on your bumper, it doesn't matter what track it is, right? It's going to be so difficult to get into pit road unless you've got good communication between the two of you. So I wouldn't say that it's the most difficult track to get on pit road. I mean, we had the Atlanta NIS a couple weeks ago where I think there were green flag pit stops for 4 laps in a row, and every lap we had an incident that just didn't bring out a caution, right? You know, that's probably the toughest track. So compared to that, I think these guys are probably having an easier time. You can just kind of stay off the throttle as you were planning to throughout the whole corner anyway, and just kind of let the truck drift down there for sure.
Looks like we got Don Blazier coming down pit road. I think Stephen Hayes as well is in his box right now. Here comes EJ Luna. So this looks like, I think this is going to be pretty much the full cycle. Still got Stephen Knight and Justin LeBlanc. And I do believe Chad McGinley, I think, are still on, I do believe, about 55 lap old tire.
So I think the worst thing possible for Austin McGill here is if a caution comes out in the last 5 laps, right? Or in the next 5 laps, sorry. He's behind, I believe, 2 or 3 drivers who have pitted before him. And obviously, if a caution comes out, they will pit, right? The question is, will McGill? And I would believe the answer would be yes, even though that kind of feels like you're wasting a set of tires. but he also kind of saved himself a set by running so deep into that run like he did, you know. So I'm really interested to see, if we get some kind of shake up in the next 5 laps. I think everybody comes down pit road and he'll restart 3rd or 4th behind some pretty fast drivers that aren't just going to give him the lead, because they know as soon as he gets it, he's going to fly away.
Yeah. Since we are pretty much, I'd say we pretty much have got through our green flag cycle. We still have a couple of drivers that have yet to pit. I think now would be a great time to take a quick commercial break, give us some time to rest our voices. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with some more racing here at New Hampshire.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Grid Vision. Of course, my name is Brian Britt. I have Austin Edstrom in the booth with me here today. Austin Derbyshire down behind the camera. This has definitely been a fantastic day for some racing here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. From what I heard, I think the Cup race might be having some weather delays or something like that, so definitely glad that we're going to be getting our racing in here today in the Global Racing Truck Series. Of course, while we were under commercial, we did see a couple more drivers go down pit road. Of course, now I do believe Stephen Knight is still out on the racetrack. He has quite a bit of wear on his tires. Last time by 32.151 for him. And of course, Austin McGill is back up to second position. He's running the fastest laps on the racetrack right now, 30.911 last time by from him. So even if Stephen Knight doesn't pit very soon, I think Austin McGill is still going to catch him, I'd say, in the next probably 10 minutes or so. Just considering, actually, might even be sooner than that, just considering how much faster Austin McGill is. 3.2 seconds last time by was the gap, and it is decreasing by the second, as Austin McGill has just had a phenomenal run. Of course, he still does have to deal with some traffic here as well. I'd like to do a quick rundown through the field here as we're on lap 128. Of course, Stephen Knight, as I mentioned before, he is our leader at the moment on older tires, has not quite pitted yet. Austin McGill sits in second place. Third place is Chad McGinley. Fourth place, Bobby Mantle, who had a little bit of some issues earlier in the race, has definitely had a nice recovery. Fifth place, Stephen Hayes, has also had issues tonight, has had a nice recovery. He's in that fifth spot. Sixth place, EJ Luna. He's been a driver we haven't talked about a whole lot, but he's definitely been looking really good, been really consistent as well in that Lone Star machine. Seventh place, David Holsey. He was our pole sitter, has been pretty much, I'd say, the one that has struggled a lot here when it comes to just overall long run pace. But it looks like he has maybe been making adjustments. Jeff Weimer sits in 8th place at the moment. He's also had quite a number of issues. 9th place, Ricky Hudgens. Have not talked a whole lot about the Black Rifle coffee machine there. 10th place, Daniel Ott. He has been up and down through the field. So curious to see how he's going to be able to do. I think he's getting actually ready to get lapped by our leader, Austin McGill, because Stephen Knight has come down pit road. But that was a look at our top 10 at the moment. So Stephen Knight actually has not come down pit road. I do believe he might have just got passed on the racetrack. So that was quick. I did not expect. Last I was looking, when I was counting down through the field, let's take a look back at this. I think maybe did Stephen Knight get loose, or was this just a normal old pass? Looks like no, just a closing rate.
Straight away.
Yeah, just huge closing. You see, he made it look effortless. You can definitely see the difference in tires. Very much. I mean, Austin McGill, he waited a long time to pit. I think he is trying to do a one-stop here, Austin. What do you think? Do you think he's going to make this one-stop work?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he's been the class of the field today. I'm actually a little worried about the people that pitted just after lap 100. Like I said, I think I'm pretty confident the fuel run is about 93, 94 laps, and they pitted with about 99 to go. So that's why I was pretty sure that they were going to do the two-stop. But with McGill, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to pit again and run him down. There's just no way. It's really just going to. Everybody else is just hoping for a caution, I really do believe, which, especially on the older tires, I could see it happening. You know, we've just seen those little solo issues where, you know, somebody gets a little loose out of 2 or 4 and collects some other people, and all it takes is for that to happen one more time and the field gets bunched back together. And, you know, we saw Stephen Hayes after the first pit stop. You know, he had some damage, but he was able to come off pit road first. And I really think that that's kind of that could be a premise to what's going to happen earlier. I think that's the wrong word, but you know how it is. But I don't know. Just later, if Austin McGill doesn't come off first, we've seen how bad the outside line is on restarts. The leader gets a huge jump on who second is. Even whenever McGill was the second place guy on Stephen Hayes, Hayes jumped to a good 3 car length gap before McGill was able to pass him about 2 laps later. So if we get a late restart and everybody has to come down and put on tires and McGill comes out second, you know, he really could still find himself in a little iffy, precarious situation. But I mean, he's so fast, it's going to be tough to beat him if it's not on a, you know, 2 to 3 lap green, white checkered style finish.
I'm telling you, we were just kind of looking at that little name plate, I do believe, for Stephen Knight. He says his hometown is Earth. I think we might have an alien in disguise here driving in our midst. I don't know. I mean, at the top, Motorsports apparently is hiring aliens out here. I just thought that was kind of funny, seeing hometown Earth. Okay. Well, yeah, you want aliens. Our producer's just saying, isn't that what you want to do? But of course, yes, I'd say that is something that you would want to do, have an alien. I mean, considering alien can be used, I guess, as a different in a different way. A lot of times on iRacing, we refer to the really extremely fast guys as aliens. Would you say, Austin?
Yeah, and we're seeing McGill right here. I mean, he's
an alien.
He's got alien status right now. Yeah. I mean, last week at Mid-Ohio, that man was just so good. I think I remember in the post-race interview, he said he hated New Hampshire and that he was gonna have to run a ton of practice because he didn't think he was any good here. Well, he must have run a lot of freaking practice because he is flying.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I hate to see a track that he's actually good at. I mean, I guess Mid-Ohio was one. But, you know, and he said he had Watkins Glen, I know, coming up in a little bit, circled on the calendar as well. I mean, so he's definitely looking really good. I think that I don't think he came into this looking like a champion.
favorite, or maybe not coming into this race, but I mean, I've seen him in seasons past, and he's shown speed and he's shown that he's able to win races. But I think that this season is more of like a breakout and a cementing him as a star in this series. I think that he's like, at these technical tracks, he's starting to show that he can win at them, and that has got to worry a lot of other drivers out here, like a Dale Brooks. Dale Brooks, he didn't show up here tonight. This is going to give a lot of points to Austin McGill, and I don't know. I think if Dale Brooks is watching this race right now, he's probably getting a little concerned, just considering, we have a lot of tracks that are going to be a lot technical, just like this, that are coming up. And if Austin McGill, if he comes to a track he doesn't like, and he puts in the practice and preparation and gets to this point right here, I'd be worried, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. And one thing I want to point out about Austin McGill, right? So whenever they were running at Mid-Ohio last week and he made the mistake and Bobby Mantle was able to get by him at some point, Bobby Mantle would kind of shallow up the entry of his corner a little bit, maybe turn into the corner a little early and come out straight. So he wasn't really using all the racetrack. What that would do is save tires a little bit, but you're definitely sacrificing some speed. But whenever you saw, especially going into turn 2 at Mid-Ohio, McGill would just use the entire width of the racetrack on entry and the entire width of the racetrack on exit. And you're seeing it here, especially going into turn 1, right? This is a type of track where every track, even every oval track, you need to use as much entry, or as much of the track on entry as you can. And going into turn 1, he has just about hit the right rear of his car on the wall every lap because he enters so close to the wall using every bit of the racetrack. And that's just a couple hundredths every lap, which of course he hits at that time, but he's been really trying to use every bit of the racetrack on entry so that he can get such a straight, narrow run off the corner where his steering wheel is straighter than everybody else's, and he doesn't have to use all the width on exit, and he still gets a better run down the straightaway. So just the way that he's able to maximize track width on entry, I think is where he's picking up most of his time on his competitors.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it looks a lot like what you see. Big wiggle there for Mark Royce. He just had a big wiggle there. Of course, what I'm seeing here from Austin, it looks like a lot like what you see a pro able to do. Like I know I have a lot of conversations with some of the really talented. Ooh, McGill catching up there. I do believe to the 73 of Jeff Weimer, not quite able to get by him. Weimer not wanting to go a lap down. But I don't think he's going to have much of a choice, just considering how fast McGill is. But speaking to that, you were talking about how he's able to just be fast and save tire at the same time. That's one thing that those guys that are really, really good are just able to do. And like, you see them like, when you think saving tires, when I think saving tires at least, I think I need to slow down. But, Austin McGill, he's not slowing down. He's just being smoother. And I think that's what you got to do. I mean, smooth is fast. At a track like this especially. I mean, you can't make any mistakes. You got to let the truck go where it wants to go. And like you said, you want to have that wheel as straight as you possibly can getting off of this corner. And he's just able to really do that. I mean, and really fantastic masterclass he's putting on it out here. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think Austin McGill, the sky's the limit if this guy continues to apply himself and continues to work at it. And I think he's a young man, so I think he's got a lot of time that he can make something happen with his career here on iRacing.
I don't know how long he's been on iRacing, but I do see from our little leaderboard that we have pulled up, he's got a 2.1K I rating. And in all seriousness, I don't know if I would be able to beat him around the track right now. And I mean, that's how smooth he is. I mean, he is absolutely. It's honestly mind-blowing to me. If he's only been on the service for a couple months or a couple of years, or even like a year and a half or whatever, there's a ton of time for him to just improve. Because for a 2.1K I rating driver to be as smooth as he is in the corner, and you mentioned the smooth is fast, what we're talking about with smooth in the sense of tire saving is you really do not want to have any wheel put into the car, right? You don't want to have any steering input put into the car whenever you get on the throttle. Obviously, you have to have some, but you want to have as little as possible. And the way that he's entering the corner so high and cutting it down, he's not getting on the throttle until that car is pointed. And, he may be putting like 10%, 20% throttle into it beforehand, but he's not putting like that heavy amount of throttle into the car until he is absolutely perfectly straight coming off the corner. He slipped it a couple times where maybe he went a little over the edge, but I mean, it's been such minor mistakes that it does not matter because he's been so smooth, so consistently through the rest of the run. I mean, just the way he's entering the corner, he's just letting the car naturally rotate up the hill, maybe touching a little bit of brake towards the middle of the corner to kind of get that double apex going. And once that car hooks and bites, he's just mashing the throttle, coming straight off the corner, and I mean, just pulling away, man. So he has been on the server for, he has been on the service for about 2.5 years. We just heard from our producer. But even so, I mean, for him to be 2.1K I rating and be this smooth, be able to pull away like this kind of gap, I really think he would excel in some open races. I don't know what all he runs, but I mean, he looks better than a 2.1K I rater to me personally.
Yeah, no, I could see that, and I think that I'm pretty sure that this series itself has a little bit of a cap on what your I rating can be, so maybe that has something to do with it. I mean, maybe he predominantly races league races. I mean, so his I rating might not be showing what he is actually capable of, and there are plenty of drivers I say that are like that. They predominantly just run league races and can come out there and school a 6,000. Guy and be like, well, how's he doing that? He's only 2,000, because you can't. I guess you can't put all the weight on that. It makes for a good story if you see someone, not as high of an I rating go out there and be able to just be this quick and have some of the faster guys kind of stumped, or some of the supposedly faster guys stumped, I should say. We have had a pretty good battle going on. Don Blazier and Daniel Ott. Of course, Don Blazier just got clear of Daniel Ott for that 9th place position. Now, this is kind of speaking more to the incredible nature here of looks like Bobby Mantle and Chad McGinley both coming down pit road. This is interesting. They're pitting with about 50 laps left to go. This makes sense considering they pitted at around 100.
Yeah, they pitted from roughly 101, 102, somewhere in that area, and they were, I believe, going to be just a couple laps short. But with the way the tires have been, even if they could have saved, it's just going to be a tough ask to make it to the end of the race. What their big question is going to be is, can they unlap themselves from Austin McGill after the pit stop and then hope for a caution? That's kind of their main goal here, is really just trying to get back on the lead lap after that. But McGill is flying. He's got a 20-second gap after those guys pitted. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that can really challenge them except for on a restart.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely curious. I'm curious to see, they're going to be much faster, but I don't know if they're going to be able to. I mean, he's going to be literally having a full pit stop taken out. And looking at how long it takes for these drivers to actually complete a pit stop, I think it's around 40 seconds. So, that's kind of a little bit of time there that these guys have to spend to pit. I mean, can they make up that? I don't think they can. I don't think that. I mean, even though they're going to be for a little while, a little over a second faster than Austin McGill, I don't know. I mean, and also keep in mind, we saw at the end of the run for Austin McGill there, he made it over 70, almost 80 laps, I think, into his stint. That last stint, he was in the 32-second range, so maybe there could be. I don't know if those guys are really able to save their tires and just be able to consistently lay down fast enough laps. I mean, it's possible. I'm really curious to see. Of course, but before they went in pit road, I mean, Mantle and McGinley, they had they were 8 seconds behind McGill, so that's tacking on to the I'd say the mountain that they have to climb.
Yeah, I think that they still have another set of tires. I want to say. I'm not 100% certain, but I want to say that the people that are pitting right now still have one more set of tires. But you're not going to see Austin McGill pit again for sure. Really, what Chad McGinley and Bobby Mantle need, if they have that extra set, is they've got to do everything they can to unlap themselves as soon as possible, just so that they can get back on the same strategy as McGill if a caution does come out. I'm sure that's what they're looking for. I don't see someone like EJ Luna pitting again because he was one of the later pitters as well. So that's kind of like the natural second place right now. But I think Chad McGinley's kind of the one to watch off of this alternate pit strategy. See when he's able to get past McGill, because I do think he'll run him down and unlap himself. But he's absolutely not going to make up a circuit and a half and be able to pass him for the lead without a caution. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think so too. Stephen Hayes, of course, I think he does not have a set left, if I'm not mistaken, but I think Chad does. I think also Bobby Mantle, I think, has a set left as well. Looks like Daniel Ott's coming down pit road at the moment. You see Justin LeBlanc. He's trying to battle with McGinley. Of course, these guys are not on the same lap at the moment. But yeah, I think you're right. I think these guys are just fighting to try to be in the right place when a caution does come out, if a caution comes out. So, Sixto, I think they're fighting for second place. I think in a lot of ways they're fighting for second place, unless, like I said, if that caution comes out, that could be a totally different story. I think they might be able to challenge Austin, but Austin has not been slow on the short run. That's the thing about it. Like every time we've seen him, he's he's been in second place to Stephen Hayes before. He's been in, didn't start this race on the pole. He was able to take the lead early and drive away. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Even if we saw a caution where everybody got it on the same amount of tires as Austin McGill, I don't think they'd still have a chance. I think that he's just too fast.
So my only thing that I think could give somebody else a chance with the caution, right? Like, he was still stupid quick on the short run, but that smoothness that you're looking for, that we've seen out of him throughout the entire race, that's really, really good for a long run. Whenever everybody is just bombing it into every corner on a late restart, you really have no idea who's going to come out the other end with their car still intact. So, yeah. And I hate to, I don't want to put any bad juju on them or anything and, say, oh, you're going to get, wrecked on a restart. But, you really just never know if the third place guy is able to get just as good of a restart as he is and be on his bumper during turn one. Just a little bump to nudge him up the racetrack more than he needs to be. And, we could see somebody else come through and take the win. But with about, I believe we're coming to 40 to go here, I don't know the likelihood of that happening. But we do have, like I said, we're paying attention mostly to Chad McGinley and how quickly he can unlap himself. He has been running about 0.7 to a second faster than McGill every lap, and that's that margin is going to shrink over time. His tire advantage is going to go away over time, but if he can unlap himself and get a caution, that's his absolute best opportunity. And I'm actually surprised to see EJ Luna coming down the pit lane. I thought that he had pitted late, but I guess he's going on to a little bit different strategy. But we're about to have only one car on the lead lap, which is shocking for a race at New Hampshire. I don't know if I've ever seen that in my life.
It's actually happened right now. We only have one driver that is on the lead lap, and that is Austin McGill. He is the only driver, I do believe, that is on the one-stop strategy as well. So by the time he gets to the end of this race as well, he's going to be pretty much, I'd say, on fumes in a lot of ways. Definitely curious to see how this kind of works out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to be able to make it on fuel. I think the tire, from what we're hearing from our producer, he's clutching.
Austin McGill is?
So.
Even if he is clutching, unless he accidentally short fueled, there's no way that he doesn't make it. He pitted on lap 117. Whenever I got in the car, my estimated laps was 93. So if he doesn't make it, I would be shocked. Unless the iRacing, number.
Sometimes that iRacing number when you load into the car is not right unless you actually turn some laps.
Well, I might turn a couple laps just so we can get a little bit of a better idea.
I mean, I just know that usually, traditionally, the trucks always have less estimated fuel than the Cup car, and the Cup car was 90.
He is pitting.
Here he comes. So yeah, I think I mean I don't think it was 90. I think it's because usually the trucks are less than the Cup cars, so I think it was probably more towards the 80 or 75 or something. Because I'm wondering. When he pitted earlier, I don't know exactly how long he went on that other stint, but he has come down pit road. This is a very late stop. I think he made it 73 laps from what our producer is telling me. So that might be the reason he might have pitted on 73 laps is because he might have been running out of gas, Austin. I mean, I think maybe the fuel window is a little bit less than what maybe you think it was.
Yeah, you might be right. I'm not 100% certain, but I mean, he had such a big lead that even if he could make it on gas, I guess a pit stop really doesn't do him in too deep. He had a lap advantage on everybody, and I can't tell for certain, but I want to say he still came out with the lead.
Well, no, he's actually just got Stephen Knight is in the lead, but not for long, because here comes Austin McGill around the high side. He takes it right back. And yeah, this actually worked out great for him, because even Chad McGinley, he's about a 1.8 seconds back on older tires. So this does not hurt Austin very much. He's gonna be able to he's on the newest tires in the field now. He built up such a lead. I mean, wow, that's crazy. I mean, I didn't think that was. I mean, this man was able to pit and come out still with the lead. That's definitely an impressive feat right there. He's going to just continue to pull away. I mean, his lap times on the short run have already been so good, and he's on the freshest tires in the field, and is the leader. I mean, man, last time by almost turned his fastest lap of the race.
You know, I'll have to do a little bit better for the next race, knowing exactly when the fuel mileage is, but unfortunately, the iRacing number's a little off. Maybe I should have pulled up caps and checked that out, but you know, it's just impressive that he's able to pull out such a gap and come out, you know, just 2 seconds behind another guy and pass him immediately. And, you know, he's probably just going to run a race for the rest of the race, being on the newest set of tires in the field. I mean, he's just absolutely flying.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, he just set his fastest lap that last time by 30.283, which surprisingly is not the fastest lap of the race. The fastest lap of the race comes from David Holsey, who hit a 30.259. So, of course, that kind of makes a little bit of sense anyway, considering Holsey did get the pole. But what a race we've seen so far. We're closing in on the final phase here of the race. We're coming up, I do believe, on 31 laps to go here. And already Austin McGill has pulled away to almost 5 seconds in just a span of just a couple minutes. It's been a great race out here, though, thus so far. Even though I know me and you both kind of came into this like 200 laps. What? And it's been a good race, though. Still, I gotta say these guys have kept it clean and green. It's been entertaining. It's been interesting, all the curveballs these guys have been throwing us.
Yeah, and I'm very impressed with like the field keeping it as clean as it has been for the last 130 laps. We saw a couple little minor incidents at the beginning of the race, but it seems like everybody's kind of calmed down, found their groove. Nobody's really making any major mistakes. Everybody's very, very clean. I also just think that after 150 laps, you've definitely learned how to drive the track a little better, right? Even the guys that maybe didn't get as much practice in earlier in the event or earlier before the event, the first 150 laps have basically been a little bit of practice for them, and I'm sure they've improved over the course of the race. So I hate to be that guy, but man, I really hope we get a caution so we can get a nice exciting finish. Hopefully it's not too late in the run where McGill doesn't get screwed out of a win, because I think he's absolutely the most deserving today, just as he was at Mid-Ohio. But you never know. These kind of NASCAR races, it's not like the oval or the road course side of stuff where if you're the most deserving, you're just going to go out there and win every time. There's a little bit of crazy strategy, crazy accidents that can happen that damper your day. So we'll see if anything like that happens towards the end of this one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing something to bring all these guys back together. That's for sure. And give some guys some chances. But Austin McGill, I'm sure he does not want to see that at all. And looking at the field, everybody, there's not really any battling going on for the most part. Everybody's about a second or two away from kind of separated right now, which is good for Austin's chances here. And he's just steadily still pulling away. I mean, he's about 7-8 tenths faster than Chad McGinley last time by. I mean, he just, man, I just can't believe this. And if he wins this race, that's 2 in a row, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I do believe coming into this race, I want to look at the points. And of course, he came into this race 14th in the points. After Mid-Ohio, he actually jumped up 3 positions. So he was, I do believe, in 17th in the points before Mid-Ohio. So, and I do believe that is because he has not made all the starts. Everybody that is pretty much in front of him in points has made 16 starts. He's only made 12, but because of his recent performances, he is skyrocketing up through these points.
Yeah, and he's going to skyrocket after this race too. I mean, I don't know how many positions he'll pick up on the point standings, but I mean, he really hasn't put a foot wrong. I've seen his right rear come out from under him a couple times off of turn 4, but I mean, it's nothing too major, nothing that would cause any concern. Especially with the newer tires on now, I don't see him making any kind of mistake that would throw this race away. But you know, we did see him make a big mistake in Mid Ohio in turn 2 there at the beginning of the race. But as long as he keeps this thing clean, I mean, he's just pulling away. He went in a little heavy there, trying to get past, I believe that's Mark Royce, but you know, he still kept it clean. And there was something about 30-40 laps ago where he was getting around a lap truck, and that lap truck got crazy loose off of turn 2, and it looked like McGill was absolutely gonna just run him over, and to no fault of his own. But he made a very intelligent decision and quick-witted decision to get on the brakes, you know, coming out of the corner and giving up, you know, about a second and a half of speed to the guys behind him. But you know, whenever you have that big of a lead, you can afford to you know, kind of dial it back a little bit whenever you need to prevent a mistake.
I also want to mention something about Chad McGinley. You know, he's sitting in second right now. Of course, I think he's going to hold on to second. This is a really great day for Chad, just considering he's second in the points right now. He came into this race with, I do believe, about 99 points separating him and the lead points leader, Dale Brooks. Dale Brooks is not here today, so this is probably about the second best circumstances or situation that Chad McGinley could find himself in. I mean, the best thing that could have happened for Chad is he wins this race, but it does not seem like that's going to be the case. But still, finishing second when Dale's not even here, that's going to very much close in that gap to the points lead.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly how the point standings work. You know, those points were some massive points you definitely don't see in like real life NASCAR. You don't see somebody racking up 1,800 points through half the year. So I'm not 100% certain on how they work, but with him, if he finishes second, I have to think he might even just take the point lead outright, you know, with Dale not being here.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I don't have all the facts and figures in front of me on how that kind of works. I know that per race these guys do gain quite a bit of points. I think it's like I'm not sure. I know that there are a lot of things that get you points. Considering I think even a lap led, I think gets you some sort of points. So I'm not sure exactly. Looks like we do have a change of position there. Bobby Mantle taking over third place from Stephen Knight. What a recovery as well from Mantle. Got to give props to this guy here in the 89. And I'm sure Austin Derbyshire gonna love this. But shout out to Canada, man. Great job, Bobby Mantle. I mean, man, he's been looking so good. I have just been so impressed with this guy. I mean, he's hit the wall a couple times. He's had bad luck today, but nothing has been able to stop him from getting up here to third.
Yeah, he's been in honestly 2 pretty major-ish accidents that could cause some good damage to him. But I mean, for him to recover up to third place, I mean, I know he's a good ways off the lead, but you know, before the first accident, he looked like he was maybe about the same speed as the leader after 35 laps. But you know, he got in that accident with Stephen Hayes through no fault of his own, and then he got loose again on another accident where he was maybe trying to avoid somebody else. But you know, he's done a hell of a job just, you know, methodically picking through the field. I think he did a great job with his strategy call in terms of staying out on that one caution, and then doing the 2 pit with Chad McGinley here. And you know, if he didn't have the damage, maybe he could challenge McGinley for second. But regardless, it's going to be a great point day for him too, coming home, you know, probably P3, P4, depending on how fast Stephen Hayes is towards the end of this race.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. I mean, Hayes, of course, definitely a lot more off the pace than I think a lot of these drivers are at the moment. But Hayes might have an opportunity to get up here tonight for sure. I mean, 1.3, 1.2 seconds separate those 2 drivers to get up there to fourth. I'm watching David Holsey. Holsey's showing some really good pace right now. He's actually very close to the back end of, I do believe, Hayes at the moment. So last time by, Holsey was about 4/10, actually now 3/10 faster than Hayes. So I expect Holsey's going to be able to get back up in the top 5. So good recovery for him. I would suspect he's probably been making adjustments on that race car probably all race long, just considering he's been struggling on the longer runs. You see Stephen Knight starting to have to deal with some lap traffic there. That's Daniel Ott right there in front of him. And Daniel Ott doesn't seem like he's going to be making it easy for him. Of course, Ott, I do believe, at the moment battling with Jeff Weimer for position as well.
Yeah, to your point about David Holsey, that's honestly really impressive. He's got about 8 lap fresher tires than Bobby Mantle in third, and he's running a little faster. But he has been a little, behind the 8 ball in terms of long run pace. But it looks like he's kind of gotten it figured out towards the end of this run. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily count him out for a top 3 finish with how fast he's running towards the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean, and he's had enough time, I'd say, to get it worked out. Just consider, I mean, it's been a long race. I mean, these guys have all had plenty of time to learn how to drive the track. So even if it's not something that's going on with his setup and it's something to do with his driving, then he's definitely probably getting it figured out just by the sheer amount of time he spent out here. As he's side by side right now with Stephen Hayes, trying to get up to 5th. And it looks like he's going to send it in also on Stephen Knight to possibly drive up there. Almost a 3-wide scenario here. If a caution is going to happen, this will probably be the closest time we're probably going to get it. Can Halsey get by Knight? I know Halsey and Knight kind of have a little bit of some history, if I'm not mistaken. They've raced each other quite a bit in this race.
To Halsey's credit, he gave both Stephen Hayes and Stephen Knight plenty of room in both corners. I mean, using the off-camber style, like inside lane. It's not really off-camber, but whenever you get down to that bottom lane after feeling the more banking of the second and third, it definitely feels off-camber, and he was able to use it pretty good there and actually get past both of them without any fuss. And last lap, he ran a 31.8 to Bobby Mantle's 32.0, so he's actually closing in oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Closing in on Bobby, even this late in the run. So I'm interested to see if he gets some clean air, if he can maybe get that gap a little bit lower. But 3.5 seconds with 13 laps to go, it's going to be a tough ask, but it's not completely out of the question.
Another driver I don't think it's not completely out of the question for them to get a top 5 is EJ Luna. Last time by 31.4 for him, and he's about 1.5 seconds, 1.3 seconds now back from Stephen Knight. Of course, Stephen Hayes is right there with Knight. I think he possibly could get up to the top 5 himself. He's running faster than the guys that are in front of him. Of course, he was one of the drivers that had a late pit stop. He pitted later than the other guys that were split it again in half. So I suspect he's going to be able to make something work there. Also,
yeah,
Daniel Ott and Jeff Weimer there. They just had a position change. I do believe Ott just made it up into 10th place. As you see, Halsey now having trouble getting by these drivers.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to kill his top 3 chances, just getting stuck behind a couple lap trucks. But, I mean, still, he dropped to, 6th, 7th off the first run whenever he started on the pole. So for him to be able to claw his way back up to 4th, really figure this out and run a good strategy to where he set himself on newer tires at the end of this run compared to, Stephen Hayes and Stephen Knight. He's done a great job, to be able to pick his way back up to 4th after it looked like he didn't have that long run pace. We've been green since, lap 60? And he's clawed his way up to 4th. I mean, that's mightily impressive for somebody that seemed a little off the pace on the long run at the beginning of the race.
I'm sorry, I had somebody calling me there for just a second. I didn't hear the last of what you had said there, but I agree, Austin, yeah. Oh, big problems for Jeff Weimer. He just went around. No caution. Looks like he's going to keep on going. Now, that would have been a huge rug pull out from underneath Austin McGill if the caution had came out right there. Wow.
I can't believe it didn't come out. He just didn't get sideways enough. He was close, but you're going to see he's going to use the bottom lane here, and as soon as he switches banking from the bottom lane to the second lane, it seems that the car just steps out from under him, and he just gets a little sideways. Does a great job holding onto it, though, to prevent a caution coming out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he almost got tight up into Daniel Ott. It's lucky that he didn't hit Ott. He got really close to hitting Ott there, but fortunately, caution did not come out, and I think the caution would have came out if McGill was coming through there a little bit sooner as well. I think because, iRacing, a lot of times that's what the prerequisite for a caution is you could be sideways in the middle of the track, but if nobody's coming, it doesn't matter. Like, they're not going to throw a caution for that on iRacing. I know in NASCAR they would, of course, but I mean, not on iRacing.
Yeah, NASCAR would have had their finger on the button there immediately, trying to get a late yellow flag for sure, but with iRacing. It's just not really quite the same thing. Obviously, our admins in the server didn't think that was a caution either, and I think they're right. I don't think that there was anything too egregious there. He did a great job not hitting the wall, not getting completely sideways, and not hitting Ott above him. I think it was just Daniel Ott was running the more traditional line where you kind of sweep up and take that narrow run off, and I think he just didn't think Weimer was going to have that kind of space on the inside, but I don't think Ott did anything wrong, and Weimer did a great job keeping it off of him.
Oh! Man, I'm seeing EJ Luna. Probably gonna have to go back and watch that again, because EJ Luna he pretty much just doored Stephen Hayes trying to get by him. Luna, of course, is on a little bit better tires than Hayes, but I don't think Hayes wanted to let him go, or Luna just got a little too desperate, got tight there, and had some contact. Luckily, it did not end with an accident. I don't know if we're going to be able to look back at that replay, and I don't blame us if we don't, just considering it's so late in this race. With about 5 laps to go now. But man, I tell you, EJ almost brought that caution out by sending it in on Stephen Hayes there. I'm telling you, it ain't over until the white flag flies.
Yeah, EJ, and then after he got sideways from Doran, Stephen Hayes, the very next corner, he used that bottom lane in 3 and 4 and was just about drifting through the entire corner. I mean, he's dead sideways again coming out of turn 4. I mean, he's trying to spin it out.
You see right here, he sends it in, just drives up the track, and boop, right there, he almost lost it right there. That could have ended up with a caution there. I appreciate Austin Derbyshire for taking a minute to look back and find that. As we're coming up now to 3 laps to go. Of course, Austin McGill starting to have to deal with some lap traffic here as he comes up to Daniel Ott. Going to be putting him possibly 2 laps down. This has been quite the race. I'll tell you, it's been enjoyable. Like I said, a 200-lap race, I'm like, man, I don't want to do this. But it's been a good race. I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need a close battle for the lead to have a good race. There's plenty of battles that happen throughout the field, and I really thought EJ Luna was going to be able to get Stephen Hayes from fifth here.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really been sliding his tires on that bottom line for I don't know, the last 5 laps. I really just think he's running a little too low. If he just picked it up a little bit and ran a little bit higher line, I think he'd have a better chance. But to Stephen Hayes' credit, he's done a great job holding on to 5th place here, and he's actually about the same speed as David Holsey in front of him. I think maybe Holsey's long run deficiency is kind of coming to bite him a little bit, but again, he's not. It's not like he's off the pace. He's holding steady on the 4th, and it'll be hard to see too many other positions changing throughout the end of this race, other than maybe Steven and EJ.
Yeah, I mean, EJ Luna definitely was a lot faster than Hayes last time by, about 3/10 faster to be exact, but time is running out for EJ to take that 5th place position. The white flag is out, and these guys are going to be lucky if they stay on the lead lap, which I think they will. Austin McGill is on. He's nipping at their rear ends right now. I mean, he is really close to putting these guys a lap down, but I don't think he's going to actually be able to do it. So they're going to be lucky to say that, hey, I finished on the loop lap tonight or today. But here goes EJ. He's going to try to send it. No, man, he almost got to the back bumper there, Hayes, but I think it's going to end fairly. Look at that. Yeah, you see Austin McGill. He's like, I'm not even going to try to lap these guys, because he could have easily wrecked himself there trying to do that. But he will win this race. Checkered flag is flying.
Oh, Steven sideways in front of EJ Luna. They both save it. They're okay for now. They're still on the last lap. The leader's finished, but they're still racing
for them. They're still racing.
EJ did a great job not getting into the back of him. He's going to have a good run getting into turn 3. He's going to try to cut under Steven here on the exit. Can he get to him? Just about puts the bumper to him. He's going to get a little sideways. He's going to go around.
Right in front of Steve Gerber. Oh.
He gets killed at the end of the race. It's no harm, no foul. There's nobody behind him on his lap, so it really doesn't matter. He's going to come across the line 6. Thanks to them for giving us a great show there at the end.
Yeah, for sure. EJ was definitely trying his best there, as it looks like Austin McGill is going to be celebrating his victory here. 2nd win in a row in the Global Racing Truck Series. He's going to go ahead and burn it down here for all of his fans. He's definitely creating a lot of fans with his performances he's been having here as of late. Look at that. That's a cool burnout right there if I've ever seen one.
Oh my goodness.
And of course, with that, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about Martin Sports for our Martin Sports winning moment. Martin Sports, a family-owned apparel company in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. They have been open for a decade and proved to be the best provider of custom apparel for everyone. Your local sports team, business, special events, and much, much more. Not only that, but Martin Sports is a major brand in sim racing, providing top sim racing apparel for your needs, from specially crafted gloves to jerseys and sim racing socks. Visit martinsports906.com today to get your apparel. Definitely appreciate them coming on board here for the Global Racing Truck Series as Austin McGill finishes up his burnout. Let's do a quick rundown through the final results here today. And of course, that will lead to Austin McGill winning here at New Hampshire in a 200-lap showdown. Second place, Chad McGinley. Third place, Bobby Mantle. Fourth place, David Holsey. Fifth, Stephen Hayes. Sixth, E.J. Luna. Seventh, Stephen Knight. Eighth place, Don Blazier. Ninth, Justin LeBlanc. And rounding out the top 10 is Daniel Ott.
11th place is going to be Jeffrey Weimer. 12th, Ricky Hudges II. 3rd, Mark Royce. 14th, Ron Harrington. 15th, Steve Gerber. 16th, Joshua Slade. Unfortunate for him, I really think he could have stayed in the race and picked up a nice top 10, but he comes home 16th. 17th, Ron Holmes, and 18th, Kenny Heath.
Definitely a good race. Of course, I don't think Heath actually, I think he turned maybe one lap today, but definitely glad to everybody that showed up here to tackle this long jaunt, this endurance race, if you will. But let's go ahead and get going with our interview. And of course, that should start with our third place finish, which will be Bobby Mantle. Alrighty, we got him here in the booth. Bobby Mantle, man, you had a little bit of an up and down day today. You had some contact, some issues out on the racetrack with Stephen Hayes, some other issues with other drivers as well. I think you got turned by Jeff Weimer at some one point, but you still managed to finish third, man. I mean, you're really keeping the momentum train going, I'd say, from last week at Mid-Ohio. I mean, do you think that has built your confidence and has allowed you to come out here and get 2 top 3s in a row?
Well, I just picked up some new gear. I've joined the direct drive world. I got some better pedals, so I think that's what's coming into play here.
Oh, definitely. That seems like that could be, especially at a track like this. I mean, this is a track that I think requires a very precise inputs. New Hampshire, definitely a very technical track, but you showed that you definitely had some speed. I think you might have even been good enough to get second place. So how much preparation did you put in to get ready for New Hampshire?
I practiced all week. I was in here at least an hour or 2 every night, just turning lap after lap, trying to get used to the new setup, and just kept putting in the time.
Well, it definitely seemed like it paid off, Bobby. Great job on the third place position. Of course, you've gotten 2 podium finishes in a row. You finished second last week, third this week. How do you think Pocono is going to fare? Do you think you're going to get you another podium there?
I hope to be talking to you guys again.
Alrighty, well, we definitely love the confidence there, Bobby, and glad to watch you. I know our producer's been loving every bit of it. He started singing the Canadian national anthem in our ears. Even though nobody in the audience could hear it, we could hear it. Thanks for your time, Bobby. Who can we shout out?
Family and friends that tune in, the guys on the team in this league. Big shout out to Ronster Wraps this week for the new paint scheme. And shout out to you guys. You guys do an awesome job week in, week out. I love watching these broadcasts.
Alrighty, well, thanks, Bobby. Thanks for your time, brother. It's good to be able to talk to you a lot more often here lately. Hopefully we keep that up. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, next up we got Chad McGinley, who finished in second place. We're going to get him down here. How's it going, Chad? That was a great run there. We didn't really talk about you too much, which is kind of rare for a second place finisher, but you just kind of kept the truck clean the entire race. I didn't notice any, crazy mistakes or anything out of you, or anything that would really catch a commentator's eye to really talk about. So is there any way that you can kind of run us through your race and how you ended up finishing second?
Honestly, the start of it, kind of just let it go a little bit, kind of get a breathing room, that way, settle in. Once about 30 laps hit, everybody kind of slowed down and was able to just maneuver around them, make smart passes, keep the truck clean. That was the main goal. But other than that, it was just hit my marks, and every time I pitted, I came out with no traffic, so it was kind of nice that I didn't have to battle anybody too hard. So it was definitely a clean race for me.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like I said, it was almost hard to talk about you. I know we did towards the end of the race because we saw you up front, and especially coming out, I believe, first of the kind of group that were doing that kind of two-stop at lap 101-ish and lap 150-ish. You came out of the lead of that group, and so we knew that you had just been running really good all day. But there just wasn't really too much to talk about because you didn't do anything wrong. So that was kind of rough. But it was great to watch you, come home second place. Kind of, I hate saying best of the rest, but Austin McGill definitely had the field cover today. But I just noticed watching your truck back, your what is it? Your uniform. I'm absolutely in love with your Luigi uniform that you have. Where in the world did you get that?
Honestly, we play lots of Super Mario here at home with my kid, my fiance. So we, that's who I usually pick was Luigi. Me and Bobby for a while, we run on a separate team, Tabula Rasa Esports, and we run red and green paints. And for a while, he was running Mario, I was running Luigi. So it was just kind of funny.
Yeah, I had to mute myself in the middle of the last interview because I just died laughing looking at the rear chase cam of your car, just seeing Luigi's beard staring me in the face. So sorry I couldn't give you any more racing related questions. Like I said, you didn't give us much to talk about. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't get hit by anybody, and you didn't hit anything. But you came home with a great P2 finish. It's great talking to you. Is there any shout outs that you want to give?
Shout out to you guys, always putting on a great show. So I appreciate all you guys do for us. Obviously, everybody at Global for putting on this series, and everybody at the top really pushing me as much as possible. But it looks like I took over the points lead, so I'm pretty happy right now.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. That is the one thing that we mentioned the entire time whenever we were talking about you. We thought that you were maybe going to take the points lead with such a strong run here today. So thank you for talking to us today. We had a great show watching you.
I appreciate it, guys. You have a good day.
Alrighty, that was Chad McGinley, our second place finisher. Next up, we're going to talk to the Dominator. I mean, this guy is just making a name for himself, that's for sure. 2 wins in a row. Dominated last week at Mid-Ohio. He comes out here to New Hampshire and dominates. I mean, I don't think he turned a bad lap here tonight, or today, I should say. And man, just Austin, what did they put in that gas tank? Do you have a special diet of just you eating nails and hand grenades out here? How fast you going? I mean, man.
Yeah, like I was telling my team before the race, I was not looking forward to running here. I'm not the best short track racer, especially not when they're flat tracks. Yeah, I don't know. Setup was incredible. Truck was on fire today. It was so stable, so fast. Those are 2 things that you don't normally get in the same setup. But yeah, I'm just glad I could pull it off today.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like you had the right car. Did you put a lot of laps in preparation time? Because we remember last week when we talked to you, you said that I'm not looking forward to this. I don't think I'm going to run that well. I'm probably going to get a top 5 possibly, but maybe not be able to fight for the win. But lo and behold, you come out here and you dominate the race. I mean, you had to prepare for that, right?
I did. Yeah, I did. I did 1C open yesterday. That's actually the only practice I did all week until this morning. Even though it was not great. I tried a bunch of different setups. None of them were really that good. And then late last night, Halsey had sent our team a few more setups, so I tried them out. I really liked the one that I used today, and I ran it in practice this morning. It was really solid really good on the long run. Had good tire wear. So yeah.
Well, you definitely showed it off here for sure today. I mean, man, you couldn't. No one could touch you on the short run or the long run. So awesome job to you, man. Fantastic performance. I mean, we really don't have too much more to say about it. I mean, you just put one on. I mean, these guys, I would have to say that these guys are going to start to get really worried that you might actually have a chance at a championship here. Just considering, I know you've only ran, I do believe this is your 13th race, and everybody else has pretty much ran about 17 races. So you're at a little bit of your hands tied behind your back, but with the way you've been running, I think you have a solid shot. Just if you keep this up. I mean, of course, we're going to another technical track next week, Pocono. How do you feel about that one? Is that one you don't like as well, or is that one you like?
I'm a fan of Pocono. I do like racing there. I've had some bad luck in the past racing at Pocono in this league. Ran out of fuel last season on the last lap. Finished outside the top 15. Blew my motor 2 seasons ago. So it hasn't been the greatest experience, but hopefully I can make up for that next week.
Well, if you do anything like you've done the last couple races now, we might see you up here in victory lane again. We'll have to wait and see how that kind of all plays out for sure. Austin, you seem like you got the hot hand right now, and we definitely were talking good about y'all race. Who can we give a shout out to after this huge win and your second win in a row?
Shout out to David Halsey for absolutely fire setup today. Shout out rest of the 5 Aces guys working on it all race and putting into practice. I think 3 of our guys got top 10 today, which is really solid from them. And shout out you guys up in the broadcast booth. I'm gonna look forward to watching this one back tomorrow or sometime later this week.
All right, well, when you're watching it, don't get too big of an ego, because we'll talk good about you.
I'll try not to.
All righty, you have a great day, brother, and we'll see you next week at Pocono.
See you guys.
That was Austin McGill, winner here tonight at New Hampshire. I don't know why I keep saying tonight. I'm usually calling races at night, but today at New Hampshire, definitely a fantastic performance there from Austin McGill. Fantastic performance from everybody out there. I mean, it was a long race. But these guys made it go by a lot quicker than it could have. I mean, it was green as well. I mean, if it had been an official series and, we had seen kind of some of the normal guys that are racing in the officials, I'm sure that would not have been as green as this was. But these guys did a fantastic job. They ought to be proud. They ought to give themselves a pat on the back. Any final thoughts there, Austin?
No, I mean, like you said, just a really clean race. I think the last 135 laps ran green. So just a really big testament to the level of talent in the field. A lot of people, there was a lot of almost mistakes that kind of happened towards the end, but everybody gave people plenty of room to gather it up. Everybody just did a good job keeping it off of each other after the kind of beginning couple of incidents that we had. So just big shout out to the whole field for keeping it clean and running green for 135 laps. That's a difficult thing to do.
It definitely is. Of course, make sure you tune in with us next week. Actually, let's look at the schedule right quick. Of course, schedule pulling up right now. As you can see, we do have some days that we are available for covering your league if you'd like. Of course, Tuesday Champion Power Equipment Truck Series is going to be running at Eldora. They're going to be doing their All-Star race. Going to have some heat racing going on there. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the start time. Wednesday night, we're going to be in the Thunderclap series there with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Xfinity car at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, Friday, we're going to continue our NIS coverage at Pocono, and definitely excited to see what that's going to look like. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that race. Of course, Pocono is going to be making a return trip in the Global Racing Truck Series at about 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Of course, we continue to follow the Global Racing Truck Series championship hunt. We've been seeing Austin McGill. Can he continue this run of dominance? But we definitely look forward to it for sure. With that, I do believe it is time to conclude today's broadcast. And of course, on behalf of Justin Levine, Taylor Burris, Austin Derbyshire, of course, my co-host, Austin Edstrom. Lots of Austins here tonight or today. Definitely appreciate him, though. I love calling races with him, and hopefully I look forward to calling many more with him as well. Of course, my name is Brian Britt. I thank you all for listening to the Global Racing Truck Series. We'll see you next time.